I would like to call the May 6, 2024 meeting of the Greenville City Council to order. I am Mayor Pro Tem Monica Daniels, and I will be presiding over this meeting. I'd like to call on Councilmember Marion Blackburn, to provide the invocation this evening, and it will be immediately followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the nature of the prayer I'm going to offer for us. One of the patron saints of the United States is St. Michael, and St. Michael is honored in many faiths, not just the Christian faith, Christianity of all kinds, the Protestantism, Catholicism, but also in Judaism and in Islam. And in Buddhism, there is an archangel Michael deity who is called Maitreya. And then in Hinduism, there is also an archangel type deity who is named Narasimha. I'm sure I didn't say that. Narasimha. No, I didn't say that right. But I think the Archangel Michael is also present in Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions. And I think that what's important here is that it shows how many commonalities there are amongst the religions and how much we share and how much we have in common with each other, and to always keep that in mind, that even when it comes to an angel by the name of Michael, that Michael appears in so many of our world religions. Michael represents the spiritual warrior, which is looking at conflict with evil as the battle within. So evil is certainly outside of us, but first we have to look at what we are struggling with on the inside. So this is just a part of the prayer to St. Michael, and it goes, and if you would join me, Archangel Michael, heaven's shining star, we humbly come to thee with hearts both heavy and scarred. In our time of need, we plead for your divine aid to help us through this darkness and guide us through the shade. May your wisdom guide us and your love surround us as we journey on toward a brighter future. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the roll, please?
Sure. Mayor Connolly has let us know he will not be able to attend tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember Foreman.
Present.
Councilmember Blackburn.
Present.
Councilmember Scully.
Here.
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Willis.
Here.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, we have a quorum.
We will now move to the approval of the agenda. Mr. Manager, are there any recommended changes?
No recommended changes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
You're not pulling nothing?
We haven't gotten to the consent agenda
okay,
yet.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Have no fear. Have no fear.
I was going to say that. I know it can happen.
Have no fear.
Motion made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay.
Time for a special recognition.
Yes. Time for special recognitions.
We'll say it.
I'd like to call forward Officer Jeremiah.
I'm a paper person too, so I have just as much paper as you.
Chief Salts.
Me too. It makes a difference.
Mr. Cowan. So tonight we have with us Officer Jeremiah Lovelace, who started out, if I believe correctly, over in the South Zone over 8 years ago, moved to our Center City unit, and then has been working in our West Zone as a field training officer for the city of Greenville, and has just done an outstanding has outstanding service with the city over the last 8 years. But I will say that Officer Lovelace, your life did change on April 2nd of this year. And I'd like just to kind of give a little write-up of how it just did change. On April 2nd, 2024, Officer Lovelace responded to Glendale Apartments with his trainee, Officer Rohack, in reference to an open line 911 call. Upon arriving on the scene, they contacted a victim outside who had been assaulted by her child's father. She stated that her 9-month-old child was still inside the apartment with him, and she feared for the child's safety. She told officers that he was intoxicated and that he kept a firearm in the house. Officer Lovelace contacted the suspect by phone and persuaded him to come outside to talk with the officers. However, he was uncooperative and hung up. Fearing for the safety of the child, officers made the decision to attempt contact with the suspect by knocking on the door. Recognizing him as being a potential threat, Officer Lovelace elected to knock on the door himself rather than sending his trainee to the door. Officer Lovelace stood to the side of the door where he reached out to knock. On his second attempt to knock on the door, Officer Lovelace was struck in the arm by gunfire that came through the door. Officers retreated to cover. After being shot in the arm, Officer Lovelace maintained a level head and assisted with escorting civilians away from the threat, while also directed oncoming officers to the scene. And I will say that at the moment of that shot, a prayer chain was started in this community. And it included the 200-plus officers and staff of Greenville Police Department, as well as everybody at City Hall and on City Council, city management, the city manager's office, as well as thousands and thousands within our community. And by the grace of God, our prayers were answered, and you have been able to recover from that shot. But what it does is it reminds us every single day of the heroes such as yourself, Officer Lovelace, that protect our city selflessly and thinking about others. And again, individuals, and people's heard me say this over and over again, you're out there protecting people that you don't even know, will never know, because it's within your heart. And not only does that represent the character of you, but again, that does represent the character of every single individual we have within our Greenville Police Department that put themselves out there every single day to protect this great community that we live in called Greenville. And on behalf of myself, on behalf of all City Council, I want to thank you for your courage, your honor, and doing everything that you can to protect us in this community every single day. Thank you so much.
And I just want to echo the things that the city manager had stated, and to say it's an honor to pay tribute to you today for a job well done, as opposed to a life well lived. And we know you lived a good life, but the prayers of the saints were definitely, as I watched all the Facebook posts and the text messages that I received as a city council member, it was, where is he now? How's it going? What's the progress? People who didn't know you knew your spirit. And that is what kept us all going, knowing that you were going to be okay. So, again, I echo what Mr. Manager said. And we are so glad to have you back.
And I would just add a huge thank you to everybody for that standing ovation. He definitely deserves it. To his brothers and sisters who could be with us from our department, our sister agency with the fire department, who were obviously there with you that night, and all of us who eventually got there. But I do want to just say to everybody that's attending that there's 4 other people on the dais with us who suffered that night too. And the thing about the job that the men and women do in public safety is definitely everything that the boss described in terms of the sacrifices they make, but those people make it too, and they're a big part of what we do. And if we do anything right, if I want us to be known for doing anything right as a department, is building a stronger relationship with each other and a family within our building that extends to our outside families, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the people. Congratulations.
Now I'd like to call forward Captain Eric Smith with the Fire Rescue Department. So, Captain Eric Smith, you've been with us since 1999 and has done an outstanding job of serving our community on a daily basis, being there as a first responder when there's an emergency. But I can say that back a few months ago, we received an email about you, and that this email was entitled, "Thought You Should Know." And let me just say, when I receive an email that says, "I thought you should know," usually it's not anything good, okay? So I'm scared to actually open up the email when it says, "I thought you should know." But I just want to read this email to the community here tonight. Thought you should know. This was written by Gina Schumacher, who is the Director of ECU's Facilities, Engineering, and Architectural Services. Wrote to the city on March 12th. "One of your guys was a hero last night at my daughter's soccer game. His daughter plays for our team. We were playing in Wilson. An older man collapsed off the bleachers and appeared to have a heart attack. Eric Smith didn't hesitate and went to the guy to start chest compressions. The school got their AED, and Eric hooked that up and shocked him. He kept CPR until the Wilson paramedics got there. That man should not be here today, but he is only here because of Eric. We all saw him. He was not breathing, and he was blue. We got an update that he's resting in the hospital with his family. Thought you might want to know he did a great thing, and that player still has a grandpa because of him." Now, let me just say, we have over 750 great employees of the city of Greenville, and you exemplify that in everything that you do. Not only on the fact that as part of your job when you're in service with the city of Greenville, that you're there to respond and to protect our community, but 24 hours a day, individuals like Eric represent our community, and most importantly, they represent the city of Greenville in everything they do within their private life. And you were there, and you responded outside of the city of Greenville, outside of Pitt County. You were there to save a life. And on behalf of that individual, the city of Greenville, and city council, I want to thank you for everything that you do and all that your coworkers, all 150 of all of our fire rescue employees, do every single day to protect our community and to be the first responders when an emergency arises. Thank you.
Short and sweet. I just want to say thank you, and thank you that saving lives is not just what you do, it's who you are, and grandparents are so special. So when I read that part of the email, you affected a whole family, and so thank you for the work that you do.
I just want to say that this is one chance that, and I'm not going to diminish what he did, but I've known Eric for a long time. He's a good friend of mine, and his family is good friends of mine as well. This is him every single day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So there's probably hundreds of other opportunities where he could be on this same stage being recognized. This is just one that someone in the public pointed out and was nice enough to say thank you. And I'm just going to say thank you, you know, as a friend, as a coworker. But we have people like Eric that work over at Greenville Fire Rescue. He didn't expect any recognition. In fact, I kind of had to say, you really need to go. But he does this thanklessly, and I appreciate his family for supporting him as he does it. He's been doing it a long time, and I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do.
Congratulations.
The public comment period is a period reserved for comments by the public. Items that were scheduled to be on the subject of public hearings conducted at this meeting or another meeting during the same week shall not be discussed. A total of 30 minutes is allocated, with each individual being allowed no more than 3 minutes. Individuals who registered with the city clerk to speak will speak in the order registered until the allocated 30 minutes expires. If time remains after all persons who registered have spoken, individuals who did not register will have an opportunity to speak until the allocated 30 minutes expire. Madam Clerk, our first speaker.
Yes, ma'am. First speaker is Mr. Jeff McKinnon, or excuse me, Dr. McKinnon. Dr. McKinnon, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, thanks. You may recall that I made a presentation on behalf of the City of Greenville Environmental Advisory Commission in February. And I explained that our highest priority for the year was to make permanent the position of Sustainability Coordinator. It's currently being filled in part by Lead for NC fellow Abigail. And tonight I want to ask the council to take that step and commit to that position in the coming year's budget, which is being discussed this evening, I believe. My commission and I feel strongly that a more informed environmental perspective within city government could be extremely valuable for generating substantial monetary savings through efficiency and energy in other areas, obtaining and managing some of the massive grants now coming available in support of environmental initiatives, improving quality of life in Greenville, and making us a more attractive site for green economy employers and new residents generally. And our recent success recruiting Beau Viet to Greenville, one of the largest employers ever to come to our town, speaks to the importance of participating in the green economy. We also feel that an informed environmental perspective within city government could be important if issues like cryptocurrency mining appear again, potentially to GUC as well as to the city. Abby Kimmel, the Lead for NC fellow who has been performing some of the duties of a sustainability coordinator this last 8 months, has already likely covered her salary in an NCDEQ community waste reduction and recycling grant for $50,000, providing proof of concept for this position. And this was achieved in addition to important contributions in other areas by a short-term fellow working only part-time for the city. Let's see. I could go on, but I think I'll just sum up by saying we recognize that funds are always limited and the city has to consider its priorities carefully. But we believe that a permanent sustainability coordinator, a position present in several other NC cities similar in size to our own, could serve the critical priorities of a healthy population, a healthy environment, and a prosperous economy. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. McKinnon.
Our next speaker.
Okay, next speaker is Jeff Monaco. You have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Good evening. You probably recognize me. I think I've been here before. My name is Jeff Monaco. I'm the chair of the Cypress Group of the North Carolina Sierra Club. The Cypress Group has 580 active members in northeastern North Carolina, and we have 170 active members in Greenville. In fact, I think a few are here tonight. A couple of our leaders are here. Right back there, Rob, Susan, and Bill. I just want to say and speak in support of the sustainability coordinator position in Greenville. It is a necessary position. The 170 Greenville residents who are part of the Sierra Club read the reports of the increasing number of environmental problems caused by the changing climate. These are changes like sea level rise, average temperatures becoming hotter, and the distribution of rainstorms and droughts changing, to name only a few. The people of the Cypress Group also understand that we, the humans in this city, are one of the drivers of these changing climate activities. And there's another threat, air, land, and water pollution. These are also caused by decisions we make in the city each day. For example, think of pollution from PFAS chemicals. Think of carbon released from our transportation vehicles. Think of increasing levels of microplastics in the environment and in our bodies. And think of the declining effectiveness of antibodies around in the hospitals. These are all based in part on decisions humans have made. Our planet, this is, I guess, my main point, our planet is not predisposed to protecting the lives of humans. There's no magic here. For humans to continue to prosper on Earth, we must work with the planet better. We must make environment affecting decisions more thoughtfully. Therefore, the Cypress Group believes the sustainability role in Greenville is critically important. If such a position can interpret the data, the scientific data, the environmental data, can draw conclusions, and then can offer guidance to the decision makers, such as yourselves. And it would this position, the money for this position would fit in well with the money Greenville budgets for other health, safety, and lifestyle things. It's all equally important. And as Dr. McKinnon has mentioned, we have an example of the benefits. If we just look at the successes that Abby Kimball, our first sustainability professional fellow, has had.
That's time.
Okay. So Cypress Group recommends Greenville Sustainability Coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Okay. Next speaker is Robert Shaw. You have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Mr. Cowan, Mr. McGirt. My name is Robert Shaw. I'm a retired pulmonary critical care physician, and I also would like to support the hiring of a sustainability manager for Greenville. We're all aware of the great quality of life that we have in Greenville. I will match our quality of life with that of Wilmington, Rocky Mount, Cary, Asheville, Raleigh, Durham. But those other communities and about 20 others in the state of North Carolina have something that Greenville does not have. They all have sustainability managers, and they're members of the Sustainability Managers Network. This is an organization where the sustainability managers network with each other, share ideas, and have been supported by their communities for many years. The city of Asheville has had a sustainability manager since 2008. Both Jeffries have alluded to the value of sustainability manager, the success of our recent Sustainability Fellow, Abby Kimmerl. And I would like to just conclude by saying that probably some people are skeptical that a sustainability manager will have value for this city. But I think if you look at your next property liability bill from the insurance company and you see that it's tremendously increased, the liability companies have applied for a 43% rate increase, and they justify that on the future liability that they feel they will have related to climate change. So with that, I also support the city hiring a sustainability manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Next speaker is Ariana Harper. Ariana, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Sweetest.
Am I speaking here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
State your name.
Ariana Harper. Hello, City and Mayor Council. My name is Ariana Harper, and I am here to speak on behalf of Operation Sunshine and Pitt County Youth. So first, I wanted to start off by saying that I think that we should
A little
implement.
louder.
You said louder?
Yes.
Oh, I think that we should implement like more things for us to do. So like an example, like a Chuck E. Cheese, a Urban Air, a Star City, and things like that. And I want us to have it in here, have it in Greenville, because I think that it's like a shame that we have to go to like Asheville, Raleigh, or like Rocky Mount to do certain things that we want to do in Greenville. Yeah. And
Good.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariana.
Thank you, Ariana.
Our next speaker.
Okay. Next is Veronica Stokes. You have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not as brave as Ariana Harper. I am the Executive Director of Operation Sunshine. Operation Sunshine has been around for 56 years. We are an after-school program for all girls. And so what we do is we work with girls in their skills with homework, tutoring. We also mentor by bringing in community people from the community. We also have group discussions, and so this was one of the things that we discussed, was the things that we wanted here in Greenville so that our youth will have something that they can do, engage in, because we see that a lot of our youth are entering into problems that are causing them to lose their lives. And so this is one reason that Operation Sunshine was started. They saw a group of girls during the summer, and they felt like these group of girls in the West Greenville area needed something positive. And so entering into this discussion, that's how we ended up here, bringing that to a forefront. So they're not just speaking for Operation Sunshine girls, they're speaking for the youth of Pitt County. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
There are no additional registered speakers.
Is there anyone else, unregistered speakers, to come forward? State your name.
Hello, everyone. Good evening to council members and our staff members. I want to say how much I
State your name,
appreciate
please.
how much I appreciate the work you do, especially during the budget process. I think you are sitting in some really tough seats, difficult decisions, and trying to balance and weigh all the needs of our city to improve this to a greater Greenville. So thank you for all of the work that you do. I am also here to ask you to endorse a full-time sustainability manager for Greenville. And my three colleagues here have presented some very good reasons why. As Dr. McKinnon said, you may remember that he and I were here in February, again, advocating for this position. So this has been a priority of the Environmental Advisory Commission for a number of years. And so as I think about this, and to this body that I'm speaking to every time I come and speak to you, the first thing that comes to my mind is possibility. Possibility and opportunity. That we can do things in new ways, smarter ways, that we can look to the models of other cities in North Carolina, across this country, across the world. We're not talking about new ideas, but there is an urgency to this. And that has been explained, and we'll be sharing with you more information. So if you haven't had access to Abby Kimmel, the NC State Fellow, who's been our part-time sustainability manager, I'm sure she will provide that report. I've been really impressed with what she's been able to do in a short period of time with really very minimal resources. Other cities have demonstrated what can be accomplished. Chad Carwine, the sustainability manager at ECU, has been able to accomplish a remarkable number of things. So there is a cost. There's a lot of costs involved. I want to emphasize that it's the cost of not doing something that matters most. So we have an opportunity to say, yes, this is a priority. This matters. With the Unified Development Code being reviewed, sustainability programs should be an integral part of that. We cannot keep doing things the way they have been done. I think I say this every time I come, which is why we have opportunity. So much opportunity to look at this and say, we can do things better in so many ways, and vitally for the environment. We're looking at 603 new jobs coming to Greenville. That's a lot of new housing. We need to be doing housing differently. So thank you. I appreciate your listening. We'll be providing you with more information and research that's come from a variety of sources. Thank you so much.
Dr. Newman, please state your name for the record.
Lori Newman, and I live in Greenville, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yoshi.
What did I say? Did I say Lori?
Yes.
Yes.
That's my government name. The name I go by, the name you know me by, is Yoshi.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak? You have 3 minutes. If there is anyone else that would like to speak, you have 3 minutes. Okay, the public comment period is now closed, and we will move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Manager, please present the items for consent.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Item number 3, approval of minutes. Item number 4, ordinance enacting and adopting supplement number 2024-S16 to the City of Greenville Code of Ordinances. Item number 5, acceptance of deed to correct name of Grantee Airport Authority to comply with session law. Item number 6, resolution accepting dedication of right-of-ways and easements for Abigail Trails Phase 2. Item number 7, resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a Governor's Highway Safety Program grant for BikeSafe Regional Coordinator. Item number 8, resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a Governor's Highway Safety Program grant for traffic safety. Item number 9, request by police department to utilize asset forfeiture funds to purchase equipment. Item number 10, resolution authorizing the acceptance of American Rescue Plan funds from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and authorizing assurances and acquisitions for the Quarry Road Regional Detention and Stream Restoration Project. Item number 11, award of a design build contract for the Quarry Road Regional Detention and Stream Restoration Project and delegation of authority to execute amendments. Item number 12, award of construction contract to Berry Building Group for the Wildwood Park Part of Improvement Project. And finally, under consent items, item number 13, various tax refunds greater than $100.
Councilmember Blackburn.
I'm not going to ask detailed questions about all of these, but I would like to pull 7, 8, 10, and 12, if I may. And other than that, I move to approve the rest of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda with those items pulled, 7, 8, 10, and 12.
Right.
7, 8, 10, and 12, okay. Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
So just a couple of quick questions about 7 and 8. BikeSafe Regional Coordinator, would that be a city employee if we were to get the grant?
We will track down Chief Saul.
Oh, okay, okay. Then let me go right on to 10.
Here we go.
Here it is.
First of all, item number 7, resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a governor's highway safety program grant for BikeSafe Regional Coordinator. Chief Sauls is available to answer any questions.
Sorry about that. I was taking pictures.
Well, as well you should. And I just have a couple of quick questions about these next two questions, these two items. BikeSafe Regional Coordinator would be a city employee to focus on bike safety?
So it's funding to fund for the position and the stuff that he'll be doing. We'll do it with an existing employee in Sergeant Aaron Lemon. It will not be an additional. It's money to take for him to implement the program, the BikeSafe program. So it'll be used on our supplies, it'll be used on our equipment, it'll be used for us to do the outreach.
Fingers crossed. How awesome. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve item number 7.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilmember Willis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Next item is item number 8, resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a governor's highway safety program grant for traffic safety. Chief Sauls is available for any other questions.
Again, this is one, go us, fingers crossed. Do we have an area in mind where this group
I'm sorry. Go
where,
ahead.
for this grant, where it would be applied?
Yes, ma'am. We have several, actually. So as you all know, as I've shared with you before, when we're looking at high-rate intersections, when we're looking at crossings, we have a corridor that typically surrounds Arlington Boulevard, Greenville Boulevard, Evans Street, Charles Boulevard, the major thoroughfares. There are various locations that it can be used in. No specific one has been designed for the focus as of yet. These are small dollars, but every one of them counts, so hopefully when we get it, we're able to put it to work. Here's what I would envision doing with it most likely. One of the hardest things that we have time doing right this moment, and there's a lot of different reasons. Some of it's based on staffing and calls for service. But as you noticed today, if you were riding on the roadways, you noticed a big change in traffic. As soon as that commencement happens, especially the spring one, they're gone the next day. And as much as we love them, it changes our paradigm, so it allows us to work on other things when our students are away and prepare for when they return. So one of the things that Sergeant Lemon has expressed most he'd like to do is use it for overtime to do traffic enforcement operations, because we still have some significant issues, as you can probably tell at times, with muffler violations, speed violations, and aggressive driving. So most likely we'll use it for operations of that kind.
I could not be happier. I just this weekend was talking with Councilmember Robinson about traffic and speeding and aggressive driving. I would add to those areas of concern. Of course, you know where the worst problems are, but I got to say 10th Street East is becoming
Yes, ma'am.
just a real nightmare. So thank you for answering my questions. This sounds like a wonderful idea and a wonderful grant, and fingers crossed we get it. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve item number 8.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilwoman Willis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next item, item number 10, resolution authorizing the acceptance of American Rescue Plan funds from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and authorizing assurances and acquisitions for the Quarry Road Regional Detention and Stream Restoration Project. I'll call forward Director of Engineering Lisa Kirby to answer any questions.
Ms. Kirby, I know we've talked about this a lot. I still think that this is an important enough project, and it's a project just that I want to continue to kind of bring to the forefront because it represents a lot of work and just a really positive step forward. This, as I understand it, is going to be a very large area of retention ponds in the Quarry Road area, and we already have the funds in hand, and all we're doing tonight is accepting them. Is that right?
Correct. So it's actually a reimbursement grant, so we don't physically have the funds until we expend the funds. But you are correct, it's been awarded. So this is our acceptance of that grant award, and then us providing the assurances for that award.
And to use official policy language, this is kind of a big deal?
It is. It's a very big deal. 5 million is always a big deal for us. So I don't know if you guys remember, but when I presented our CIP projects, the Trafalgar neighborhood was one of the impactful images that you saw on the screen because I was able to have before and after shots from a storm from the same viewpoint. This is the first step at providing relief for that neighborhood. So this won't give them all of the relief that they need. We need to continue to push forward to address other capital projects within the neighborhood itself, but this has to happen first before we can repair the culverts.
And as I remember, that was where we saw one day normal, the next day like water up to the mailboxes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
To engineering for obtaining these funds. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilmember Scully. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The next item is item number 12, award of construction contract to Berry Building Group for the Wildwood Park Party Improvements Project. Call forward our Executive Director of Recreation and Parks and Capital and Facility Projects, Don Octagon, to answer any questions you may have.
Good evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. City Manager. Mr. Octagon, remind me this is a Part F grant, again, to use official policy language, a big deal. What are we doing at Wildwood with these funds? Can you remind me?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So in 2022, the city was awarded the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund for this project, and this includes a restroom and parking to support the current bike park located on the east side of Wildwood Park, north of the existing lake. It also includes observation deck, and also includes a challenger course for youth and a zip line, similar to what we have at Town Common. And the additional parking is about 75 spaces, which would have certainly been needed this past weekend when we held an event out there. So this will be a huge improvement for the park.
And this will be over on that side, the east side, where all the bike trails are?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
A new restroom, zip line?
Restroom, zip line, so more activity for youth, kind of a restroom area in the middle of our trail, additional parking, which will help support the bike park. It also includes alternates, which are a bike rack and also a repair station, which we have seen a request for since the bike park was open.
Again, kudos to you all for receiving these grant funds, and I appreciate your explanation of that, and I look forward to seeing them take place. And with that, I would make a motion to approve item number 12.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those approve?
Aye.
All those in favor? Sorry. Any against?
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. We now move on to new business, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First item under new business is item number 14, ordinance approving fiscal year 2023-24 capital reserve fund designations as included in budget ordinance amendment number 10. I'll call forward Chief Financial Officer Jacob Joyner for a presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council, Madam Pro Tem. This will be an ordinance approving capital reserve fund designations for fiscal year 23-24. And will be also included in budget ordinance amendment number 10. Capital reserve fund is a place for the city, according to state statute, to be able to set funds aside for which we might not have a project yet, but they are for that intended purposes. For this designation, we will be receiving revenue from the state of North Carolina for the purposes of replacing the town common bulkhead. That is in relation to the earmark of $5 million that was presented to council in the past. That will change the designations to increase it to $8.2 million, $5 million of which will be set aside for the town common bulkhead. We'll also have money set aside for the Dixon Avenue streetscapes, future NCDOT projects, as well as for a future industrial site. We ask that council approve the capital reserve fund designations.
Any questions? Councilmember Blackburn.
Surprise. Thank you so much for that. Can you go back to the previous slide?
This one?
Yes, the $1 million for the industrial site. Is that for the Shell building?
I believe so.
Yes, ma'am. That would be set aside. Just in the situation where that we would have to start making payments on the debt service, that would be the first dollar that would be spent. But again, our goal is to make sure we move that along and we don't have to touch that $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? No? Any discussion amongst council or make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilmember Scully. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The next item under new business is item number 15, Budget Ordinance Amendment Number 10 to the 2023-2024 City of Greenville Budget Ordinance Number 23-046, the Capital Projects Fund Ordinance Number 17-024, Special Revenue Grant Fund Ordinance Number 11-003, and the Occupancy Tax Fund Ordinance Number 11-003. I'll again call forward Chief Financial Officer Jacob Joyner for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have a budget ordinance amendment number 10. It will be impacting the general fund, occupancy tax fund, capital project funds, the special revenue fund, capital reserve fund, our donations fund, as well as our stormwater fund. Item A will be to recognize a transfer from our occupancy tax fund for the upgrades to the Greenville Convention Center courtyard. That will be no change to the occupancy tax fund, but will increase the Public Works Capital Project Fund $250,000. Item B will be to recognize funds received within the Capital Reserve Fund. That will increase the Capital Reserve Fund by $5 million for the purposes of the town common bulkhead. Item C will be to recognize additional revenue received from the Downtown Greenville Partnership for the Downtown Beautification Project. That will increase the general fund by $20,000. We have item D will recognize donations from the Community Foundation of NC East for Wildwood Park, and that will increase the Recreation and Parks Capital Project Fund by $150,000. You have item E will recognize additional interest revenue and appropriate it to the Neighborhood and Business Services Department for business loans. That will increase the general fund by $50,000. We have item F to recognize additional donations received for the police department, and that will increase the donations fund $3,544. Item G will be to appropriate fund balance for PEG and opioid funds received in prior years. That will increase our general fund by $60,000. We have item H to recognize additional opioid funds received from the settlement, and that will increase our special revenue grant fund by $209,000. We have item I to recognize funding received from the state for the Corey Road Regional Detention Project. That will increase our stormwater utility operating fund by $257,000, as well as increase the Enterprise Capital Project Fund by $8 million. And then we have item J, which will transfer funds from our Planning and Development Department to the UDO Capital Project for work done by Inspire, and that will increase the Community Development Capital Project Fund by $10,500. And that brings our overall operating budget for the year to $184.8 million. And we ask the council approve budget ordinance amendment number 10.
Councilwoman Blackburn?
Do we have, and I don't know who this question is most appropriate for, do we,
It's an encore for you.
yeah, really. Do we have designated projects for those opioid settlement funds?
That is something that we are working with the county in a joint partnership to come up with a plan. They are in the same situation where they received opioid funds, and we're working with them. They're in the process of hiring an opioid coordinator for the county, and that position should be employed by the end of June, starting with the new fiscal year. So our focus will be to make sure that we coordinate the usage of those dollars collectively to make sure we're getting the best benefit from them.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Any discussion or motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Robinson.
Came from the left.
She was first, you know. Second by Councilwoman Blackburn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
I just know he's going to get me for that. My head and not my heart.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next item under new business is item number 16, presentation of the City of Greenville fiscal year 2024-25 proposed budget. And I'll now move down to the podium. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council.
Good evening.
It is my honor tonight to present to you the proposed 2024-25 budget for the City of Greenville. And that fund, the total funds, is approaching almost $500 million, $483.2 million. It's incredible, the growth that we've seen over the last 15 years with concerns to the city funds. The city operating funds come in at $175.6 million, representing approximately 36% of the total, while Greenville Utilities makes up another 63% of that total at $302.2 million. Both Greenville Utilities, the Convention Authority, and Shepherd Memorial Library will present their budgets to you on Thursday night. Today, this Monday meeting, we want to concentrate and focus on the city operating funds, the $175.6 million. And if you look at that breakdown, almost 2 out of every $3 of city funds is encompassed within the general fund. That is our main primary operating fund, coming in at $112.5 million. And that's where we'll spend most of our focus within this conversation as well. But what we'll see is that the proposed budget is a direct reflection of the mission of the City of Greenville, to provide all citizens with the high-quality services in an open, inclusive, professional manner, ensuring a community of excellence now and in the future. And also, this budget is a direct reflection of the City Council goals that were adopted by Council at the end of January at the planning retreat. That includes, and I'm going to paraphrase, to build a high-performing, diverse organization, deliver public infrastructure improvements, enhance community engagement, safety and wellness, and environmental responsibility, expand the economic hub of Eastern North Carolina, build thriving and attractive communities, expand artistic, cultural, and recreational opportunities, and make Greenville a destination community and place for all people to call home. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through the highlights of the proposed budget and how they relate directly to each one of these individual goals. First of all, a goal to build a high-performing, diverse organization. The budget that we present for you here tonight for consideration reduces the property tax rate by 9.68 cents, the lowest one-time reduction ever in the property tax rate, going from 48.95 cents to 39.27 cents. That property tax rate represents one of the lowest tax rates as compared to our other regional and city comparisons. Our peer cities being those with populations around 100,000, Asheville, Concord, High Point, Jacksonville, Wilmington, Gastonia, and Fayetteville, as compared to our regional cities that surround us, Kinston, Rocky Mount, Washington, Wilson, and New Bern. As you can see, we provide one of the lowest values to our community with concerns to property tax. This budget appropriates over 85% of all the general fund revenues into the core services of our city. That's providing public services, recreation and parks, providing services with our neighborhood and business services, planning and development, economic development, capital to fund the debt service related projects that we have, street improvements, and so on. This project invests over 65% of the general funds into city employees that serve our city every single day. And for all the city employees that are out there watching this presentation tonight, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for everything you do to protect and serve the city of Greenville and the city residents every single day. It provides for an average 4% increase in wages for our employees. Adjust the city pay plan structure by 2.6% in order to stay competitive in the market. Provides funding to change the 401k contribution from $40 per pay period to 3% per pay period. Includes an increase in employer-funded retirement rates to match that as mandated by the state treasurer, a rate of 15.04% for law enforcement and 13.64% for non-law enforcement. And as you will see in a little bit more in detail as we move through this presentation, provides for the creation of a community engagement coordinator to better connect and inform the community of the activities, programs, and initiatives around our city. We got to better connect, and we want to provide the services to get that message out because we're doing a lot of great things.
Yes.
We want to make sure everybody knows about it.
Yes.
The next goal, deliver public infrastructure. Invest $400,000 in supporting the systems infrastructure technology infrastructure. Provides $300,000 in replacements to our computer workstations. $272,000 to fund the city's efforts to share information and activities and market the city on social media channels within our public information office, and provides over $3 million in annual funding to the city's pavement management program, an increase of $155,000 as compared to the previous year. Fully funds the debt service to move forward and complete the Build Grant project, and provides $4.25 million in pay-as-you-go funding for various capital initiatives such as facility improvement projects, improvements to our facilities, improvements to our parks, $1.2 million, and over $3 million in funding to replace those vehicles that stay on the road 24 hours a day. Continues implementation of the stormwater utility plan that was approved by council back in 2019. This plan funds over $82 million worth of stormwater projects and preventive maintenance and operation within the stormwater program over the next 10 years. And it's funded by the final fourth $1 increase to the stormwater ERU rate. It provides for an increase in $670,000 in the operating costs within our city operating departments, such as public works and fleet operations. We too are not immune from the inflationary increases that we have seen within the markets. Directly impacts our ability to fund our public works department as well as our fleet operations. With enhancing community engagement, safety, wellness, and environmental responsibility, provides $250,000 in funding for pedestrian safety projects around our community, whether that be new crosswalks, bollards systems, beacon systems. These are projects in order to be able to protect the pedestrians moving around our community on a daily basis. Provides $80,000 in funding to support the housing needs of individuals recovering from substance abuse. That's the opioid settlement dollars that we're going to work in partnership with the County of Pitt to make sure that we're doing the best we can to utilize those dollars for the best interests of our community and those that are the most in need. Provides $500,000 in pay adjustments in order to better recruit and retain public safety officers within police and fire rescue. As we have seen here tonight, it is not an easy job, but most importantly, it's a competitive job. We are competing with our agencies all over this state and regionally to make sure that we've got the best officers and public safety employees serving our community. This provides enough $500,000 to help us better retain those individuals. Provides 6 new EMS fire employees to run an additional 24-hour EMS truck in order to reduce response times and cover increased call volumes, specifically in those zones that are the most taxed on a daily basis. Provides for an additional fire marshal position in order to keep up with the increase in fire inspections and reviews on a daily basis. Provides $100,000 worth of new funding to support Americans with Disability Act projects and initiatives. This has been a long time coming for this council, and we're starting just like we started with our pavement management system. 9 years ago when I started, we were at $500,000. I presented a budget here for you that has over $3 million worth of annual funding. We're starting here with ADA funding for our community to hope to grow that over time. Provides $100,000 in new funding also for sidewalk expansions and sidewalk infill projects. When y'all are going through the community and you see those uneven sidewalks, and I know you've seen them because you've let me know, I want to be able to even them bad boys up. So this is where the funding will go to not only to expand our sidewalks within our community. Enhancing community engagements and so on, $375,000 worth of funding to continue to support our CDBG and housing initiatives with the likes of down payment assistance program, coordinated entry, construction training, rehabs, non-congregate shelter, and also gap funding for affordable housing tax credit projects. And provides $40,000 in funding for community outreach within our Recreation and Parks Department. Finally, provides for an employment of a business liaison and business development manager in our Neighborhood and Business Services Department to work with our local small businesses to better foster success and enhance growth. These were positions that were approved over a year ago. We are now moving forward with the employment to provide the support that our small businesses need. With concerns to expanding the economic hub of eastern North Carolina, this budget includes $500,000 to continue the partnership we have with the Greenville E&C Alliance. And we've seen what the impact of that just in one project has been just last week, and I can assure you we got more coming around the pipe. Provides funding for existing and future job creation grants. $100,000 funded by the city and another $100,000 funded by GUC. Provides $20,000 in funding for the city's facade improvement program, and provides $20,000 in funding for skills training through the Pitt Community College Jobs Initiative program. Expands the hours of operations within our transit department. And we talked about this last month, both in the morning, evening, and operating on Saturdays in order to better connect our community to jobs and to job training. And expands our development support staff by the volume positions in order to meet the demands of our development community. We are growing. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and we've got to be able to keep up with that. That's with the likes of inspectors, stormwater utility locators, as well as stormwater equipment operators. And provides support to our community partners in our business community with concerns to the Greenville-Pitt County Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Greenville Partnership. With concerns to building a thriving and attractive community, this continues construction of the Bill Grant with the following Greenway projects: extension of the South Tar Greenway from Nash Street under Memorial over to ECU Health, and the Greenway extension along the Town Creek Culvert from 5th Street down to 1st Street. Provides $375,000 in local funding, again, for our CDBG and housing initiatives, and provides the funding continue to move forward our update to the city's zoning ordinance, the UDO. And it includes $600,000 in funding to enhance beautification of the city and our parks. It included contracted mowing, landscaping, maintenance of street right-of-ways, maintenance of our city facilities, including our parks. With concerns to expanding the artistic, cultural, and recreational opportunities within our community, this budget here provides for the completion of the city's new gateway sign to be located on the southwest quadrant of 587, which again, for a large portion of that's being self-performed by our own staff. It includes $100,000 in funding for the Pitt County Arts Council at Emerge for arts administration and additional Greenway art. Provides for the continued development of Phase 2 of Wildwood Park with the connection from Wildwood over to River Park North. Provides for the opportunity to partner with the likes of the Greenville Museum of Art and the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. Converts 2 part-time positions to full-time in order to support special events and arts programming that most importantly are being funded by increases in our revenues within those areas. We're generating more revenue because we're doing more within the community. And it's allowing us to be able to expand the resources that we've got dedicated to that. And provides funding for Shepherd Memorial Library with a 2% increase in their operational funding, as well as $100,000 in capital funding for the replacement of the HVAC system. And making Greenville a destination community and place for all individuals to call home. Provides funding for the support of over 50 community events, including the likes of the Little League Softball World Series, July 4th, National Night Out, Bites on the Bridge, Juneteenth, New Year's Eve, Pirates Fest, Youth Arts Festival, Free Boot Fridays, the Winter Fest at Wildwood, Veterans Day, the annual Christmas Parade, Greenville Gives, Market at the Town Common, and also paves the way to provide for a coordinated community task force to continue to explore the potential for our future sports complex within the Greenville and the Pitt County market. And most importantly, that's all, as we've talked about in the past, it's based off of relationships, the relationships that we can continue to foster with our community sports organizations, East Carolina and the county, to potentially one day make that happen. Again, the proposed budget that stands before you here tonight is a strong reflection of your mission. It checks all the boxes with that, meeting your mission, everything that we do day in and day out. From here, I'm going to call forward Chief Financial Officer Jacob Joyner to continue to walk through the general fund, and some of the other funds that make up our operating dollars.
Hey, good evening again. We're going through our proposed 24-25 general fund budget. This is highlighting our major revenue sources. We're proposing a total budget of for our general fund of $112.5 million. The largest sources of revenues would be our property tax at a proposed $43.4 million, followed by sales tax at $31.9 million. Our largest six revenue sources, which is property tax, sales tax, are GUC transfers, our utilities franchise tax, rescue transports, and POW bill, make up 86 out of every $100 that we receive as a city. So looking at the proposed property tax revenue, we got a few items for discussion. Number one of which will be the revenue neutral and the fiscal year 24-25 proposed tax rate. We'll also take a look at the 24-25 proposed property tax revenue, how the city compares to its peers based on the proposed rates, and the priorities that we will be funding with the revaluation revenue. So looking at our revenue neutral and the proposed tax rate, the revenue neutral rate, which is mandated by state statute to be presented, is a tax rate that would provide the same revenue in a revaluation year as if the county had not revalued the real property. That does not mean it will be the same revenue as the previous year. It is allowed for normal revenue growth within our property taxes. Therefore, the revenue neutral rate will provide the same revenue as last year plus 1 year of average growth. Here are some of the historical tax base. These numbers are presented in billions. We have seen an increase of 40.69% in value from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25. And the increase is based on a combination of an expansion of the tax base, which is our normal growth, as well as the appreciation and value of the tax base, which is seen through revaluation. Normal tax growth is 2.75%. And revaluation growth totaled 37.94% through the revaluation process. And that's what makes up the overall growth of 40.69%. And that brings our total tax base to $11.34 billion, which is an increase from about $8 billion in the prior year. Our current tax rate is 48.95 cents per $100 of valuation. The revenue neutral tax rate, as calculated, would be 36.85 cents, and we are proposing a tax rate of 39.27 cents. That would be a 12.1 cent difference between the current rate and the revenue neutral rate, and the city is proposing to retain 2.42 cents in the tax rate from revaluation. So looking at the proposed tax rate and how that will affect the proposed tax revenue. At the current tax rate, we would see revenues of $54.1 million. The revenue neutral tax rate would be $40.7 million. And at the proposed tax rate, we would see $43.4 million in property tax revenues. That would be a $13.4 million difference between the current rate and the revenue neutral rate. And at the proposed rate would retain $2.67 million in revenue from the revaluation in the budget. So in summary, our revenue neutral rate would be 36.85 cents, and that would see property tax revenue of $40.7 million. The city is proposing retaining 2.42 cents of that, which will increase our revenue by $2.67 million. For a total proposed property tax revenue budget of $43.4 million at a property tax rate of 39.27 cents. For what that means, and this is just an example, what this kind of means for the public is what they would see is if the current tax or prior tax value was $200,000, and just say there was a 50% change in their tax rate at the high end, their new tax value for their house would be $300,000. At the current tax value, that would be a $979 at the 48.95 cents. At the new tax value, at the current tax rate, that would have increased to $1,469. At the revenue neutral, 1,106, and at the proposed rate, 1,178, leading to differences from increase of 490 at the current tax rate, at the revenue neutral rate, 127, and the proposed tax rate, 199. Now we'll take a look at how the city compares to its peers based on the proposed rate. Here's the historical tax rates in cents for the city of Greenville. It has continuously declined for over 20 years now, and we are proposing a 39.27 cents decrease from 48.95. We'll be comparing how we compare to our Pitt County peers, as well as our peer cities throughout the state, and some regional cities as well. In Pitt County, Greenville has the lowest combined property tax rate of all the other villages and municipalities. Other municipalities do pay an EMS rate to Pitt County. This EMS rate for Greenville residents is built into the tax rate, so that is a tax that they do not have to pay. And we can take that in consideration. Greenville's tax rate still is 39.27, where the next closest will be Simpson at 50.95. Compared to our regional and peer cities, we also are on the low end of tax rate at our proposed rate, down at 39.27, along with New Bern at 38 and Wilmington at 39.5. On the high end, you see Kinston and Rocky Mount at 77 and 68.5 respectively. So what will we be funding with our revaluation revenue? This is really focused on the $2.67 million that we are proposing to retain through the revaluation process. And these are the priorities that we are targeting with that revenue. That'll be primarily focused on public safety, our public works, engineering, recreation parks, neighborhood and business department, and other personnel costs. And our first priority, which is public safety, we would distribute that with $139,000 additional dollars for operations, as well as $500,000 targeted towards pay adjustments for existing personnel, and 7 additional fire rescue positions. And with that, I would like to call up Chief Sauls to talk a little bit about the operations and pay adjustments for public safety.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. As you see in front of you when we're looking at these increases, we'll start with this operation piece of 139.4. The things that are bulleted on the screen are kind of self-explanatory, but I want to expand on a couple. We were over in the workshop earlier and you heard about how prices are on the increase. In that particular presentation, it was Mr. Mulligan talking about just expenses. And I like the way he said it. He was talking about how these consumable items, you could figure it from many different ways, but the fact of the matter is everything's costing more money. And even though we're in public safety and we think about what we see in terms of a marked police car, a uniform, hardware, there's a lot of other consumable fees in both the police department and the fire department that we have to use as well. And that's everything from pen and paper, or the items like you see on the screen, supplies for EMS, for police, things as simple as printer paper for the cars. So as time has gone on and we have advanced as a department in both the fire department and the police department, and we talk public safety, it's so easy to talk about us combined, especially the way these two departments work together now. Probably, I don't want to brag by any means, but I would say the men and women in both departments probably work better together now than they ever have. So I'm able to speak a little more intelligently about the other department as they could us. And we share information and we recognize that the things that we use every day are increasing. I like to use the word dramatically. If you put all that together, you know exactly what I mean. A uniform expense, for instance, is through the roof. Our consumable items that we have to keep people safe. The items that we have to keep our animals safe, because with our animal protective services, we actually have vet bills where we take the animals for evaluation prior to taking them to the animal shelter in many instances. So we incur fees of that nature. And at the bottom, you see that last bullet, the 35% increase in operating costs since 2022. Everything is going up. This 139.4 will help aid both agencies in various aspects of what we do, from license fees to device maintenance and other things that you see on your screen. So that's the operating piece. The second piece, the number's a little bigger, it's $500,000, and this is for public safety pay adjustments. Things I'd like to point out to you, again, the bullets are there for us to read through together, but I'd like to add the story between the lines, if you will. The first bullet speaks about our falling in rank, and I've mentioned this in workshops previously in terms of where we are as your public safety departments and where we used to be and where we want to be. And I've also mentioned to you the service that we provide. I've always called it a Cadillac service, and I'll stand by that. I think the service that we provide to the citizens and to our visitors is just that. It is a top-tier level of service. And it's extremely hard to recruit people right now, just not just to come to Greenville, but into the profession in general. So if we're going to recruit them into the profession in general and have them come to Greenville, then we have to stand out. And we have to be that location that everybody's talking. The buzz is all about Greenville. Why do I want to go to work for Greenville? And it's got to be on the front of everybody's brain when they're going to BLET, when they're going to the fire academy. We respond to calls for service at a relatively high rate. You see the number. Yes, I've seen that number proposed many times in different ways, but I've personally seen examples where I've shared with you before, our dispatchers, for instance, our telecommunicators, are taking more than double the calls of a lot of the national averages. The national average running around 5,500 calls per person in a telecommunications center. We're taking over 11,000 per person per year. So when you add those up and you recognize that that same phenomena is occurring with 911, with the county dispatch where our GFR is dispatched, our own dispatch inside the police department, that should give you some idea of where we are. What does it really mean? It means that the law enforcement officers in this state know that if they come to Greenville, they're going to work. And if I know I can go somewhere else and not have to work as hard, I may choose a different location. So we're looking for those various ways to make sure that we remain on that top tier of marketability. We've got approximately 100,000 citizens in our city. I know our census number is off from that at times, but I think we all would easily round that number up now, just looking at our housing in terms of the beds that we have in this city. The thing that's important, though, is as our brothers and sisters just discovered in the fire department when they were reaccrediting this last year, they did a study and realized that there were over 250,000 here at any given time during the day. That is a various level of tax on our resources. And when you are answering calls for service, when you're trying to, in my piece of the pie, when you're trying to enforce the rules to attack a lot of those things we talked about earlier, like the speeding and the aggressive driving and pedestrian crossings and all the things that we know are important to us, the loud mufflers, the things I term quality of life, because that really impacts us all. It's like the number one thing we hear about every time we go to a community meeting. In order for us as the police department to do that, we've got to have the resources out there to do it. For the fire department, the same applies. They're not just taking care of the 100,000 residents that we service here with our agency, with our fire department. They're taking care of all those visitors too. The crashes, the medical calls, the accidents that occur during the day. And then lastly, the stress that it puts on us in terms of Greenville. I've said it many times, but now I finally have a picture in my mind. You've got Raleigh, you've got Wilmington, and you've got Greenville right in the middle. And each one of those areas are a hub. If you go to any of those areas, they look a lot like we look in terms of the traffic volume and the number of people. And you would say, man, it's tough here. Well, people come here and they say that same thing. Man, it's busy here during the day. Last Friday, if you were moving around, you know exactly what I mean. So luckily, we have well-coordinated efforts with our other agencies like ECU, so we're able to work on those events together. But we've got a level 1 trauma center that people come from all around to receive health care. We've got a major university. A lot of our peer agencies do not have those, either of them. We've got a thriving nightlife that takes a lot of resources to manage. We've got a lot of major industry that require our fire resources to be dispersed evenly around the city so that they can respond in a faster manner, especially when you think about the driving conditions that we have during the middle of the day. And overall, it makes us that regional hub. That means we've got to really be ready for that. And lastly, compression. You've heard the word many times. I've used it several times in presentations, and I've heard it for the 27.5 years that I've been working as a Greenville police officer for you and for this city. But we do need to address it. As long as we continue that regular increase of starting salary without adjusting across the full spectrum, we have compression. It's a pretty simple concept. But the thing about that is that at some point we need to address it, and this is a step in that right direction. The opportunity to standardize our pay based on time and grade and time in the department of each department is critical. So you've got time in the department. I just told you I've been here almost 28 years, but I have grades of different levels, right? I've been serving as your chief now for, I don't know, a couple of years. But if you only looked at me based on those couple of years, it may negate the previous 26. So we have been working together with my staff and Chief Davenport's staff at the fire department, and using an algorithm that we developed that takes both of them into account and gives us a true picture of what a position should look like. So that if you have a position that has been, I'll use patrol, a baseline position for 27 years versus one that has been in multiple different categories, they compare differently. And it takes that into account, and it gives us a good, clear picture of what that looks like. The reason I think that is so important is it is very important to me, and I've discussed this with Chief Davenport, that we have employees, veteran employees, because they become what? Our best recruiters. And that's where we've got to capitalize on bringing people in. And this 500 does not completely address the needs of the departments, but it is definitely a significant step in the right direction, and it's what has been included in the overall presentation by the city manager's office. And then lastly, I mentioned retaining valuable employees, but I would also mention the very last bullet of remaining competitive among like-sized departments throughout the profession. Because in this region, if we are going to excel and we're going to reascend to that number one position, it'll be critical that we put ourselves on the map as the destination. As much as we become a destination city for visitors and for guests, we want each one of our city departments to be a destination for people to serve. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Chief.
I'm sorry?
I think questions now, or are we going to wait? Are we going to
Keep rolling?
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that, I'll call up Chief Davenport to discuss the next bullets.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. I'm not quite as good at shooting from the hip as Chief Sauls is, but I'll do my best. So as part of the following budget requests that we're looking at here, this one will allow us to place an additional EMS unit in service in our Station 2 territory, which, as you may or may not know, is over in our medical district. Station 2 is off of Arlington Boulevard. And 2, add an additional full-time fire marshal to our Fire and Life Safety Services Division. Also wanted to mention that we have not seen an increase in personnel in our fire rescue department since 2018. So collectively, our units respond to over 50 individual calls for service a day, on average. Overall, we've experienced an 11.5% increase in total call volume throughout the city since 2018, with Station 2 accounting for roughly 30% of the department-wide increases in call volume. So this additional EMS unit will enable us, our response force will enhance our department's ability to respond to emergencies throughout the city in a timelier manner when seconds count. This additional unit will allow our Station 2 crews to better handle call volume within their own territory without having to get units from other territories to cover their calls. I wanted to mention that all of you, since January of this year, our department has experienced 15 staff departures, with the 2 primary issues expressed as higher than average call volume and overall compensation compared to surrounding agencies. Our goal is to address both of these issues with the budget considerations presented to you all tonight. An additional note, to replace these 15 individuals that we've lost this year will cost our department roughly $360,000 in training hours and take 6 months for them to get on shift where they can start running calls and relieving some of the call volume off the ones that are left. And as you can see, the benefits of retaining our public safety employees are extremely important. The requested fire marshal position will be used to enhance our Fire and Life Safety Services Division. Just like our Operations Division, the Fire and Life Safety Services Division has experienced significant increases in requests for service, primarily in the existing business inspections, as well as the new construction inspections throughout our rapidly growing city. This list represents much of the work that will be performed with this new position, and they will relieve a lot of the burden off of the other inspectors that we have out in the field right now. I wanted to close by saying thank you to all of you all for your continued support of both Greenville PD and Greenville Fire Rescue, and be happy to answer any questions at the end when Mr. Cowan finishes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mulligan?
The second priority we're looking to fund with revaluation revenue would be our Public Works Department. Those priorities would be a utility locator position at $95,000, as well as additional money for Public Works operations, which will require $300,000 in new revenue, as well as additional money for fleet maintenance at $370,000. And I'll ask Director Mulligan to come up and talk a little bit about that.
All right, thank you, and good evening again. As Mr. Joyner was saying, there are three main sectors that make up the $765,000. One is personnel related, and I'll start to talk about that in a minute. First, jumping into the operations, that is our street maintenance department, and then fleet maintenance, obviously $370,000 there. So let me jump to the utility locator position. This is a new position, one we don't currently have in the city, and this person will be responsible for locating, identifying our underground infrastructure assets. Before any contractor can start their work, repair an existing asset, install a new asset, they call 811. We'll receive a ticket locate from that, and we'll go out to identify where that infrastructure asset is and help them not to cause any disruptions or interferences in our infrastructure as they're building their asset. So we have 200 miles of stormwater pipe. We have IT fiber out there that connects 39 buildings, 625 cameras, all of the voice, data, and video that connects every department within the city. That's IT fiber that's in the ground. This position could also assist with some of the 130 traffic signals that are out there if needed. So when we get that call, there's two types. There's an emergency locate. We get 3 hours to locate that. Or on a normal locate ticket, there's 3 business days to locate that ticket. And to just some comparison, obviously we do not have this position. Our sister organization, GUC, they locate their sewer, water, gas, and electric. They have 10 locator positions. All right, so for a city our size, it's a pretty critical position. And to talk about the scale, or show you the scale of what we're talking about, that map, that is since October of 23. That is approximately 8,600 locates. So we're talking about more than 60 locates in a day that our utility locators need to locate. So we're doing that on an ad hoc basis with folks from street maintenance, and it's pulling them away from other activities that they should be doing. All right. Moving on to public works operation. Again, this is street maintenance, and certainly, as you've heard over and over again, material prices have increased significantly, having a market impact on the cost of our core services. Asphalt, stone, concrete, our bedrock materials for road, gutters, sidewalk, and curb. Those prices have increased by 20%, and we'll need an additional 20% increase. That equates to about $60,000 just for those materials additional. Additionally, we have inspection services for fire and telecommunications installs within the right-of-way. So the next wave of fiber install is happening this year, getting underway. And contract staff will ensure that the infrastructure is being installed per plan, that it's being installed on the right side of the road, that they're doing the job they should be doing, the traffic safety, measures are installed correctly, that they're not doing what we call blind boring, that there is a mark out there. And if we do catch them doing blind boring, that's where they're digging up and boring, having a boring machine with no utilities located. If we catch them doing that, we stop them and we kick them out of the city from doing work in the city for 30 days. So, so that's what that contracted position would do. Also, sidewalk repairs. You heard the city manager bring it up about the trip hazards. So our expert street crews replace sidewalks on a daily basis, but the sidewalks that have been lifted by tree roots, we actually shave those down, and we do that with a contract service to eliminate that tripping hazard. And these funds, as well as some existing funds, will be utilized for that purpose. Fleet maintenance. Again, material prices. Experiencing significant material price increases, and fleet personnel, the people behind the scenes that enable our police, our fire, our 24-hour day responders, as well as transit, solid waste, parks, to perform their jobs, right? The equipment that we use, those are our mobile offices, and absolutely 100% required to do our job effectively. So looking at some of the individual costs there on the right, fleet contract labor, our labor rate has been increased so that our internal service fund is balanced. When we work on a vehicle, we charge that back to the individual departments, and we need to raise that rate so that we're balanced. That fleet rate, that hourly rate is being raised by $5. It includes the salaries, the benefits, the equipment needed to perform the fleet tasks. So it's being raised from $75 an hour to $80 an hour. If we were to compare that to the commercial rate that's out there, we're about 60% of what the commercial rate is. The commercial rate is close to $150 an hour. So we're at 80, almost 50%. So parts and materials is the next. You see a significant increase there. Significant lead times, high demand as new vehicles are not available. 20% increase in price over the last 2 years. We are currently experiencing higher expenses than forecasted for this fiscal year. And for parts, we're expecting an increase of over $300,000. There's some good news. Fuel, we have some stabilization in this sector. Our fiscal year 24 budget is well ahead of schedule. We're looking at 20% savings through March of 24 and so we're forecasting 100%, $100,000 reduction in our fuel price allocation over what our budget is this year. Commercial labor, a minor increase there just due to increasing commercial labor rates. As we've hired a new mechanic, we're much less reliant on commercial labor rates, but there are some items where we absolutely need commercial labor. Adding and subtracting these amounts, we see the cost of maintaining our fleet, really the backbone of all of our operational forces, is $370,000. And that's what makes up the $765,000. All right, and with that, I'll hand this over to Director Kirby.
Okay. The next group of priorities we're proposing to fund in this year's budget are centered around our engineering department. Those priorities would be the ADA program at $100,000, sidewalk expansions at $100,000, as well as additional money towards our pavement management program at $155,000. And I'll call Director Kirby up here to talk a little bit about that for you guys.
Good evening again. So we'll jump right into the potential ADA program. The last survey that we conducted, or self-assessment that we conducted of our existing infrastructure, was in 2019. We typically try and marry that with our pavement conditions study. It resulted in identifying over 3,000 ramps that are on our system within our jurisdiction. Unfortunately, 83% of the existing ramps were found to be non-compliant with the current law. Compliant when they were installed, laws change. So, currently, we only retrofit ramps in association with our pavement management or our resurfacing efforts and CIP projects, because this is required by law. The average cost has increased drastically since 2021, 66%, to the tune of about $3,700 per ramp this year. It's also worth noting that NCDOT is currently updating their infrastructure within our city limits, so they have set aside funding for that. What could we do with this money? The first thing is we could perform consistent self-evaluation surveys, which is required by our ADA transition plan as funding allows. So that transition plan dictates that if funding is available, we look at them every 5 years or do self-assessments at least every 5 years. We currently are in the process of selecting a consultant for our pavement condition survey for this year. Unfortunately, we could not afford to do the ramps at the same time. So this first year of funding would allow us to do a change order to include those ramps and do a self-assessment again to understand what we have out there and what needs to be fixed and what the priorities are. It would give us a baseline fund to start addressing ADA concerns in high foot traffic areas that would be outside of our capital projects and our street resurfacing. We can match NCDOT's initiatives and potentially co-locate improvements so that we get full compliance at an intersection because our systems intertwine so drastically. Update existing pedestrian crossing signals to ADA requirements and or recommendations. This could be audible systems. This could be relocating push buttons in order to make them more accessible. And finally and ultimately reducing liability to the city and the citizens. So we'll move on to sidewalk expansion. Separate what from Director Mulligan talked about, this is strictly for expansion of our current system. There's approximately 117 miles of sidewalk within city right-of-ways. That does not account for all of the sidewalk along NCDOT right-of-ways that the city installed through betterments and maintains as well. In 2024, the current cost to construct sidewalk is about $50 per linear foot. So what this funding could potentially do, first and foremost, it would update our inventory because the last inventory we did was in 2019. But second, we could expand up to 2,000 linear feet of sidewalk per year in high traffic areas. So what we would target are residential areas that are near schools or community centers, parks, or heavy commercial areas to be able to provide pedestrian access. We'll move on to pavement management. So our current budget of $2.9 million, that would increase to approximately $3,055,000 with this added money. About $2.4 million of that comes from our PAL bill. I point that out for a reason, and we'll talk about escalation in a minute. But what I wanted to note was that PAL bill has only increased 20% over the last 6 years. So keep that number in mind when I talk about how our prices have escalated over the last 5 or 6 years. So currently our average pavement condition index is about 62.9 or 63. We are striving to achieve an average pavement condition index of 73. Historically, we take our pavement management program funding and it's broken down into both resurfacing or rehabilitation and preservation. So we spend about 75% of our budget on rehabilitation efforts and about 25% on preservation. So this is where I talk a little bit about the increased cost due to inflation. So with that treatment breakdown, resurfacing or rehabilitation has increased 45% since 2021. Preservation efforts have increased 20% since 2022. With the proposed increase, if you keep our historic treatments or breakdowns the same, 75-25, we could potentially address an additional 3,000 linear feet of resurfacing or almost a mile, 5.2 thousand linear feet of additional preservation efforts. And that brings us to the total of $355,000 for engineering. And I'll turn it back over to Jacob.
Thank you.
The final set of priorities we are looking to fund through the proposed tax revaluation process. That will be $125,000 that will go towards recreation operation expenses, $95,000 for a engagement coordinator in the Neighborhood and Business Services Department, as well as $50,000 towards the city match for the 401k contribution. These total $270,000, and I'm going to ask the Director of Parks and Recreation to come talk about the recreation operation needs.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
All right, so the proposed funding for recreation operations is directly related to enhancing the quality of life of Greenville residents by providing entertainment options and community outreach programming. Since the pandemic, recreation staff have increased the number of special events organized by our department from 40 in 2019 to over 130 events that will take place this year. That's an incredible increase since 2019. I got to give credit to all of our staff for making that happen. So these additional funds will help pay for the bulleted items you see there. The most recent event that we had, which I mentioned earlier, was the Barbecue, Blues, and Brews event. That's very hard to say, I'm just saying. That was held this past weekend at Wildwood Park. This event saw approximately an attendance of over 3,500 individuals, that's estimated. This event not only provided entertainment for our residents, but also introduced Wildwood Park to thousands, which continues to help put Greenville on the map as a destination community. In addition to special events, the proposed budget will help maintain the Rec and Roll mobile recreation program, which the department's Community Outreach Division introduced this year. This program takes recreation opportunities into areas of our community that do not have those resources and represents our department at various events, such as the Heart of the City event that took place this weekend at South Greenville Recreation Center. Community outreach has been a major focus for our department over the last several years. We look forward to partnering with Neighborhood and Business Services, led by Director Tiana Berryman, to help share these opportunities in the future. Director Berryman and her staff have done a great job engaging with the community, and we look forward to working with them in the future to help share our programs as well. And with that said, I would like to introduce Director Berryman to review the next portion of the presentation.
Thank you.
All right. All right, good evening again. Since its launch about a year ago now, Neighborhood and Business Services has been working to develop a roadmap for better, deeper engagement for supporting services and programs that impact citizens related to areas such as affordable housing, code enforcement, business support and development services, and then other community support initiatives. Creation of a role committed to the implementation, creating a role committed to the implementation, management, and continued improvement of around community engagement will ensure strategic focused leadership, capacity building, innovative approaches, consistency in delivery within Neighborhood and Business Services, and then also amongst other departments. This addition will better align our efforts with best practices in municipal community engagement, as we've learned from other municipalities such as Raleigh and Charlotte, and empower residents to effectively engage in understanding the need for and delivery of necessary city-sponsored programs and services. In essence, by dedicating resources to this position, the city acknowledges the importance of building the collective capacity of the community to actively participate in shaping its collective future. Okay, and now I will turn it back over to Jacob.
Jacob, thank you.
The proposed budget includes an additional $50,000 from revaluation to go towards the employer match for the 401k contribution for employers. This 401k contribution will equal 3% of eligible employee salaries. The goal will be to bring Greenville closer to the market average compared to the 20 largest North Carolina municipalities. Currently, the average contribution is 3.8%. The hope is that this will help increase the retention of experienced staff, and the total cost to implement is $400,000, of which $50,000 will be needed to fund through revaluation. All in all, the total amount of priorities we're looking to fund equal $2.67 million, and they'll address areas such as public safety, engineering, public works, recreation, and community engagement. The goal of the priorities funded through evaluation was to make sure that we are engaging council goals and priorities to the fullest extent, and it guided our direction on where we targeted revaluation revenue. And with that, let's look at the general fund budget expenses for the 24-25 budget. The total expense budget is $112.5 million, of which $73.9 million will go towards personnel cost, $24.2 million towards operation, and the rest will go towards capital and transfer costs for the city. Personnel, which is includes both personnel wages as well as benefits, total $73.9 million. 69% that goes directly towards wages, and benefits for city employees make up 31% of our personnel cost. The proposed budget for personnel includes a 4% average wage increases for employees, a 2.6% adjustment to the pay plan structure, a 3% 401k contribution for employers, as well as adjustments to the retirement rates to reflect state requirements, which will be increasing the retirement wage for law enforcement and non-law enforcement personnel by 1%. So we also include the $500,000 for the public safety pay adjustments to recruit and retain public safety employees, 6 new fire EMS positions, 2 additional inspection positions, and 1 utility locator positions to meet development community needs, 1 additional fire marshal position to keep up with the increase in fire inspection reviews, and to convert 2 part-time special event positions to full-time. The 24-25 personnel budget includes, it will create a community engagement coordinator to better connect and inform our community of the activities and programs and initiatives around our city. The operating budget will be split among all the departments. Police leads way at $5.8 million, and the total operating budget will be $26.3 million. The majority of our operating money goes to what we view as our core services, which include public safety, engineering, public works, recreation, and parks. Our transfer budget, which is approximately $14 million, will lead to transfers to our debt service fund, our facility improvement fund, engineering capital project fund, Shepherd Memorial, our housing fund, transit, and public works capital project fund. Total transfer budget is $14.2 million, $6.7 of which will go to the debt service fund, $1.2 million for facilities improvements, $3.5 million will be transferred to our engineering capital project fund, $1.5 to Shepherd Memorial Library, with $375,000 to our CDBG and housing fund, $775,000 to our transit fund, and $80,000 to a special revenue grant fund. The $6.7 million necessary to pay for to our debt service fund will be necessary to pay for current and future debt service payments according to the city's long-range debt plan. The city anticipates issuing approximately $8 million in debt in fiscal year 24 and 25 to help fund completion of the Build Grant project. And future debt needs include plans to move forward with the rebuild of the town common bulkhead as funding permits within the long-range debt plan. For the FI Facility Improvement Fund, we'll be transferring $1.2 million, and that is evenly split among our Recreation and Parks, Public Works, and Information Technology departments to fund maintenance and improvements to our current facilities. The $3.5 million towards the Engineering Capital Project Fund, $3 million of which will go to the Pavement Management Program for maintenance of city streets, $250,000 to the Traffic Safety Projects, $100,000 to both the ADA program and sidewalk inspections. We'll take a look at some of the other operating funds within the city. Our transit operating fund, the proposed budget is $5.1 million. The highlights of which will include extended bus service hours and reinstatement of bus service fares that were suspended during the COVID lockdown years. Here's a little look at the proposed new service hours, which will include expansion of the weekday hours to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., as well as Saturday hours from 9 to 4 p.m. And that, to necessitate that, we'll need 13 full-time drivers per weekday and 6 full-time worker drivers per Saturday. To help finance this, we will be reinstating our fares. The proposed fee for a single ride will be $1.25 and a discounted rate of 75 cents. Day pass would be $2.50 with a discounted rate of $1.50, and a single ride paratransit at $2.50. Our sanitation fund proposed budget is $9.5 million, and this includes our sanitation rates remaining constant for the 8th straight year at $16 per month. And as I said, we have no change in rates since fiscal year 2018 for sanitation. Our stormwater fund proposed budget is $13.5 million. $11.3 million will be through our stormwater utility fee, and we'll be asking to appropriate $2.2 million of fund balance. The 24-25 budget includes a transfer to the Enterprise Capital Project Fund to fund additional projects from the Watershed Master Plan. It includes the last dollar increase per ERU in accordance to the stormwater utility plan. The stormwater utility plan was a 4-year plan to increase our rate to fund Watershed Master Plan projects. The fiscal year 25 rate will be $9.35, up from $8.35. So in summary, we are looking at a general fund budget of $112.5 million and a total operating fund budget of $175.6 million. The general fund makes up 63% of our operating funds. Revaluation revenue, we are proposing to retain $2.6 million from property revaluation, which equates to 2.42 cents on the property tax rate, which leads to a property tax rate of 39.27 cents. We are funding a series of priorities with the proposed $2.6 million to address community needs in public safety, engineering, public works, recreation and parks, and neighborhood and business services. And our future dates will be on Thursday, we'll have the proposed GUC, Shepherd, and CVA presentation. And June 10th will be the public hearing on the budget, and we will consider the budget for adoption at the June 13th meeting. And this one.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, that is your proposed budget for 2024-25, and you know that's a lot of money. I will say, let's go back. $175 million, of which the general fund is $112.5. But I can assure you, there's a lot of value to this community, and the way that we allocate funds. And as you can see, the city of Greenville, as compared to our peers, we provide a great value as compared to our peers. And I'm very proud to work amongst the individuals that you have presenting here tonight, and all 750 plus employees that we have that dedicating to make sure that we're utilizing these dollars most efficiently. One of the most important slides I can say is probably this one. That's the money shot right there as far as what the impact from reevaluation. It's $2.6 million that's been retained in the budget, and 2.4 cents. And staff has spent quite a bit of time here tonight to talk to you about what those true needs are and how it's allocated to be able to benefit our community. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys asking questions.
Okay, any questions? Councilwoman Blackburn?
Well, I know Councilmember Robinson, and I'm not going to get at present into the granular level of questions. I just wanted to start kind of in a general way the conversation. First of all, I want to say I've been doing this a long time. I think this is my 9th year that I'm starting on council. I don't know that I've ever seen a budget presented so succinctly, so clearly, and so well done. So my kudos to our city manager and to every person in the department for providing such good information, solid information, and rationale, and tying it directly back to our mission and goals. I've never seen that done, so thank you very much. I just want to start off our conversation on council at a 30,000-foot level, which is when we look at the revaluation, one of the reasons we haven't a revaluation is because everything has gotten more expensive. We have a pipe at Public Works that was initially budgeted at around $3 million, that now, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Mulligan, is costing around $10 million. That's what's happened to our costs. So a reevaluation is not something that's undertaken just to make everybody stress about increased taxes. A revaluation is done because there is a change, and there are changes in the market dynamics that affect the way government operates. So I wonder if the 2.4 cents have we gone far enough, given what we know about our increasing costs? And that's the only question I have at this point that I just wanted to introduce sort of open up our conversation about, because I am concerned about escalating costs, and I'm concerned about being able to maintain our infrastructure, our services, and all the things that we do as a city, given the explosion in costs, and we're only keeping 2.42 cents out of the revaluation. You've done a great job. I know everybody's done a great job determining their costs and being conservative, and I appreciate that. I just want us to have make sure we look at that and say, have we done enough?
And before council starts to debate that amongst themselves, I will say that an incredible amount of time and effort and thought and battling back and forth, that exact question has been spent by staff. This is probably, I appreciate you saying that it was well done, but in my 25 years of putting budgets together, this was probably the most difficult budget that I've been associated with, even though I'm city manager and not the CFO, just from the standpoint of the fact that we do have a significant amount of increased costs that we've seen out there, and we have a lot of needs, and we have a lot of competition, specifically in the public safety arena. I can't stress that enough. That is just, to me, just as much as important, if not even more important than what we've seen as far as rising costs. But at the same time, what we've had to debate is the impact on the individual taxpayer that's also struggling. And I'm just laying it out there. It is what it is. We see it every single day, because just as we are dealing with increased costs that we're having to deal with, so is every single individual within our community. And it was trying to create that balance where we're trying to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of the operations that we provide, but also not pass along a significant burden to the taxpayer at the same time when they're already feeling that. And so that's all I can tell you from our perspective. It has been a significant challenge and a debate ethically and professionally of what that right mix is. I can tell you in discussions with the staff, we've tried to give you what we feel are the most important needs that we have at this moment in time.
And just to follow up with that, I see the needs. Are we able to keep up with the explosion in costs just within our budget with this 2.42 cents?
I believe that it will. It is able to keep us at this point in time. Now, am I saying that if the costs continue to increase like we've seen, which I don't believe economically they will, and that's just a personal opinion. That's not a professional as far as what we see here. But ultimately, that goes down into macroeconomics and microeconomics and what we're seeing in the market. And I can't see that continuing at the same rate that we've seen. But ultimately, we are in a situation where there's been a lot of money pumped into from federal assistance that's pumped into the market. Until those dollars get spent with the forms of ARPA, we might continue to see this pressure.
Thank you.
Councilman Robinson.
We're balancing needs versus wants, and also we've had what I believe, in my personal opinion, is unprecedented inflation that we hadn't seen since probably the late 70s, 76 to 79, that era, when interest rates went up to 22%, and I think very few people in here would remember that because they're not old enough. So the individual taxpayer looking at a bill that's 30 to 40% more, probably on average, if not more, than what it was, is catastrophic from terms of residential properties and then commercial properties also, because a lot of people have commercial properties, but that's how they make a living. And so, if they see this great increase, they pass the buck down and it gets passed down. So that's the one thing I think we're looking at is how do we try to offset what I think clearly an unprecedented increase in property values. I think I made this comment last August that I thought we were going to see real estate values go up 30 to 40%, and I, just by pure luck, probably hit the nail on the head. And we haven't seen that kind of increase in decades. On the other side, one of the things that's got me greatly considered or concerned, and I have beat this drum almost since the first day I walked in here and got sworn in, is our police department is still roughly 20 to 25 people down, if I remember correctly. And I think one of the budget comments was we've got to pay money to recruit and retain. And, you know, I think not just for the police, but also the fire department, because they're critical services. I'm sure if you ask that grandfather over in Wilson, he probably would tell you that that fireman being there and that rescue guy being there was critical to his service. And it's a great example of Greenville. But to me, being that many down for what I think is probably over 2 years now is unacceptable, period. Our chief is doing an amazing job with the resources he has. But what we're seeing is constant complaints of people are flying up and down our roads like it's a racetrack. We lead the state in accidents because of that, in my opinion. We're paying more insurance rates because we're considered a high accident county and city. Other groups that the gangs and stuff are starting to pop out because there's not as much visibility. Visibility being officers on the road patrolling, where you should have 14 to 16, you've got 2. So all those things feed into the need for more. And then number 2, like the chief said, and I know this from what I do for a living, we have a population roughly 100,000, but we are a destination city for the Swan Quarters and the Plymouths and the Jamesvilles and the Williamstons and the Washingtons that come here to do things and come here to work and shop and do things and have a lot of people coming in here. And so as a result, you know, I guess, see, man, I don't know if it's you, Mr. Cowan, or Chief Sauls, you know, we've got an amount in there. What's it really going to take to get us the numbers? Because we keep Band-Aiding stuff, and we're that many down, and I know that we've been tested. We've had several shootings. We've had several standoffs that the chief's done an excellent job with. We're growing, and a lot of people coming in here for the day and then leave after 5 o'clock for medical care, for jobs, to shop, to use our facilities, our retail merchants.
I'll start off, but then I'll let Chief Sauls pipe in here. We did adjust the beginning pay for our officers mid-year, and I believe with that adjustment that we made, plus the increase that we're seeing right here, after 6 months with the city, I believe our officers will be making per this budget over $56,000, which I believe would be competitive with the market. I think that the focus here would be on the recruitment and retention aspect, and that's what Chief Sauls and Chief Davenport have worked together to make sure the time and position, time and rank could work together with the $500,000 that we have allocated there. There's probably a little bit more that we could put in there, but I'll let
Chief, let me just ask the direct question instead of being long-winded. You know, I don't coax things very much. I am long-winded, but there's $500,000 in the budget. In your opinion, as a chief, who I believe is doing an excellent job, is that what it's going to take to retain and recruit and get these numbers down to from 20 to 25 down to more acceptable and get people back on patrol to protect our citizens? Or do you need more? And if you need more, I'd like to know personally how much more you need to work on this recruitment thing, because that number has been hanging out there for over 2 years, and that really concerns me. And when I hear the complaints of our citizens, it's not because you're not doing a good job and the people who service, it's just that we don't have the man and woman power to go out there and do the patrols like you should do, as I understand. Because if we could, you'd be sitting on Arlington and Greenville Boulevard and Memorial Drive and these other major thoroughfares running traffic unit and slowing these people down, so that perhaps instead of somebody running 50 and a kid darts out in front of them, that maybe it might be 35 and there might be a chance to avoid a fatality or maybe an accident altogether. But really, what in your opinion, do you think it will take to get those numbers down? Because we haven't been budging that number. And I'm concerned that we may lose, because I've heard some talk from people that they're concerned, and they're veterans, about, do I stay here based on the pay? How do we fix that problem?
I think that we have, everything that you've heard said from what Mr. Cowan just said about the mid-year adjustment to the $500,000 that he put in the budget after our consultation with myself and Chief Davenport, all a step in the right direction. And to get to your question directly, as we reviewed it, you look at everything from 100%, this is what I would ask for 100%, and you work yourself down to a manageable number, because we're one department fit amongst the rest of our department heads and our employees. Currently, in terms of what you're seeing here right this second, on top of the $500,000, probably roughly another $150,000 would put the current research that we have done, would put the algorithm at a rate where it would fix us at this moment in time. Is that going to mean I fill up those 25 positions instantly? No. But what it will mean is that myself as a department head, along with Chief Davenport as a department head, would be looking at being able to fix that compression, being able to address the time and grade, being able to bring those employees that are, is sickening to me as well when I have that veteran employee who's looking to leave, and it's because of all these what ifs. If I can retain that person and turn that person into a recruiter, all of them are, but I need them to feel like they have been rewarded for their station where they are now. And we've got to get it right and then move forward with it from there, going in the right direction. So, yes, sir, I think with the probably another $150,000 would put us at that fix for right this minute.
So you think that if we were to budget $650 for you, that would be it would send the right message to those that on the force that are experienced and have that wisdom experience that they've gained over time to stay here because they see that council has their support, and also it would be a good recruitment tool in terms of trying to bring people here to fill in the void that we seem to be having with the 20 to 25 positions. You think that's a fair way?
I don't see how anything that we're doing or that has been proposed in this from the public safety standpoint could be seen as anything but a positive by staff. And I've said it to your faces many times, and I've said it to my staff many times. I can only speak about my department, that we do have a very supportive group of leaders, and I do think you want to do right, just like we talk about and like you say. So that's putting everything in line with where it needs to head. Yes, sir.
And let me jump in. That $150,000 number, I'd like to, Jacob here would love to vet that number to make sure that it includes the proper amount of benefits. It might be a little bit higher than 150, but not too much. But we'd like to have the opportunity to take a look at that closer.
Well, I just feel like we haven't made much progress on reducing the number down, and what I'm concerned about is I'm seeing the uptick in the complaints coming to me. I'm sure my fellow council members have probably had them about, as you say, the minor stuff like the loud mufflers, but really the number one complaint that I hear on our roadways are the reckless drivers zipping out of traffic at a 35-mile-an-hour zone, running 60 and 70. And that's why our insurance rates have gone up, because we have so many accidents. And that's not your fault. It's not the men and women who do the job. It's because we can't put enough people on the street to write tickets and enforce it and get those people to send the message that you don't come down Arlington running 60, 65 at 8 o'clock in the morning and work traffic at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it also would help Memorial Drive and Greenville Boulevard and 10th Street, where we've had some fatalities and some pedestrian strikes, to perhaps slow people down to the speed limit they should be traveling. So if a pedestrian does step out or dart, or they have that person in their view, they have more reaction time to try and stop the vehicle, so that hopefully there's not a collision. And if there is, there's hopefully minor injuries and not a fatality. That's really what I'm concerned about, because I really want to knock that number down. We've been beating this drum for a while, and I do want to say I think this council supports the police department. I want you to know, Chief, and everybody that is under you, that I believe y'all are doing an excellent job. I just want to give you the resources to let you do the job effectively and get more men and women on the task force to help this city be. The only way to do that is to make a destination city because of what we pay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
And I do appreciate all you do and everything. And we have to understand that fire and rescue And police department, I mean, those are the ones that most people, happen to see, and they need to be tier 1 operators, because if not, just like the grandfather over in Wilson, had not Captain Smith been there, he might not, this family been going to a funeral instead of going to see him perhaps in the hospital. I hope he's out recovering now. So I just want to increase that. And that's my same accolades go to the fire and rescue chief. I'm not trying to cut you out of this now, because I know we need a new fire station over on Frog Level. That's a conversation today, but I guess I'll be quiet and let my other council members jump in if they want to.
Councilmember
Thank you. Seems like a great investment. When we lose good people, not only do we lose that experience, but we also have to hire new people and train them. I believe Chief Davenport, you said $300,000 for training new fire and rescue officers. That's a lot of money, and a lot more than what you're saying it would take to make us more competitive. Seems like a really wise investment, and they deserve it. And I went to the bench dedication in the park the other day for the young man who passed away on Memorial Drive. It's not just annoyances. These are real life and death situations that we need our men and women to be well paid so that they stay here and we can depend upon them, and so that they feel good about what they're doing, so they'll do a great job while they're doing it. It's a hard job, and if you are not being supported, not being thanked, not being well paid, you're not going to do the job as well as you could. Not to say that you're not, because it's amazing what you're able to do under the circumstances that you're working in currently, but we need an increase there to support you. It's a great investment.
Councilmember Blackburn.
If you all haven't spoken yet, if you wanted to go. Okay. The other kind of 30,000-foot item that I wanted to mention, we had some folks speak very eloquently earlier about a sustainability manager, and these positions are important in themselves, and I think it's important just to say that they do things like reduce waste and allow us to operate in a more environmentally responsible way. But in a very practical way, they pay for themselves and more. So is it possible for us to have a look at a budget that might include a sustainability manager, knowing that that position might be an initial investment, but that person would, with time, probably pay for themselves and more?
So I can tell you how I would prefer to move forward with direction from the council. Is first of all, I'm assuming. Well, I don't assume anything. Do you give a thumbs up on what you've seen so far?
Yes.
Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. So from there, first of all, I want you to get that $150,000 number out of your head, because I got to go back and look at that. It might be more than that to fully fund the pay adjustments that we're talking about here. So don't forget you heard that. All right. So this fellow is going to go back and he's going to check the numbers. All right. So that's first of all. So if that would be the will moving forward, that's one thing we can look at. If it also be the will to look at the addition of a sustainability officer or position, then I would prefer that council would make that in a motion, both pieces in a motion.
Okay, so
On top of what has been presented here, if that's all the discussion, but there might be some more discussion you might want to have.
in addition to what other things you might want to see, Councilmember Foreman?
I'm sorry, I just got some bad news here. But I want to thank you guys for all the work that you put into this, first of all, and the benefit of having a city manager with that financial fortitude. I do also mirror the need for sustainability officer. So Marion kind of asked a question that I had. As it relates to that, when we look at our city goals for enhanced community engagement, safety, wellness, and environmental responsibility, we talk about having just.
Turn your mic on, Tanya.
Can y'all can't hear me?
Your mic needs to be on.
I thought it was, I'm sorry. Want to make mention, again, of enhancing community engagement, safety, wellness, and environmental responsibility, expanding our economic hub of Eastern North Carolina through proactive, responsible economic development. I think that that is an example of that and would balance out our efforts as we move forward, both as it relates to our planning department and with ENC Alliance as we look at bringing in new business and having growth with harmony with our citizens. So did want to make mention and acknowledge that presentation. Otherwise, I also mirror the rest of the council, as Les has mentioned, with the voice that we've had with the police department, as well as with our fire department. I have some questions as it relates to PFAS, and we've talked about that before, Fire Chief, and what type of measures would need to be put in place to ensure that they are able to address their needs as safely as possible. And I'm sure that you probably have given that thought in developing the budget, so I don't want to take a deep dive into that, but that is a huge concern of mine also.
Councilwoman Willis.
Yes, I did have a question. It was on one of the slides, and it was supporting the initiatives of the downtown partnership as well as, I'm trying to think, and the chamber, but there was no monetary value there. And so I was just curious
so
as to.
There is $100,000 for downtown Greenville partnership, and they will be presenting in June at the workshop. And I want to remember correctly, I think up to $25,000 for the chamber to host certain events like the Unity Breakfast and some other partnerships that we have with them.
Okay. And so if we wanted to make adjustments to those numbers, then we could just put it out there as far as
we just put it out there. And I can provide that more information back to you.
Right.
And I will go back to just remember, this is just the presentation of the budget. What you're going to have is the public hearing. You also have the ability to do the final adoption. So there's, this is about a month and a half worth of additional work and discussion that you can have on that. So if there's some thought, each one of you have a copy of the budget.
Absolutely.
Or this presentation in front of you, and I can provide Councilmember Willis that concrete information so you have those two numbers. So that you can add that. You can look at that in perspective to everything else.
Right. Awesome.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to thank you guys also after having conversation about community engagement and the need for more community connection engagement for them to understand what we have going on with the city, but also to use a grassroots approach to developing what we need to have go on to meet the citizens' needs and meet them where they are. You guys, that meant a lot.
I'll tell you what, it's like this. When my kids were young, I kept telling myself, I can't wait for them to grow up. Well, maybe if there's any kids listening out there about Santa Claus, because I want all the credit. And I'm telling you, we are doing a lot of things great in this city. We're doing a lot of things great. And if we're going to do the things that are great, we need to get credit for it. And we can't get credit for the great things we're doing if no one knows about it. So we got to continue to strive to outreach the community and get our message out. And that's why that's there.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the action behind it.
I concur. Did you want to share more, Councilwoman Blackburn?
I have some sort of granular level questions, specifics, but is that something that's better just, because I've probably got 6 or 7 or 8, is that something better just to?
I'm a better.
Yeah, I'll just call you about that.
Oh, okay,
Rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
doing a
call-
deep
call-
dive.
call 'em, so.
Yeah, because, just so you can explain to me some of these numbers. In the budget, I got to ask about East Side. You got a little money in there for East Side Park.
There is no money in there for East Side Park right now. Now, there's some,
You'll make a crime.
there's dollars within operations to make some improvements out there with some trails, but that's not any of significant dollars, some things that we've talked about.
Is that something that we could add? And when we talk about East Side Park, I know last year we pulled, I think it was 10,000 out of contingency. I mean, anything that we do out there has already made such a difference. 10,000 for East Side Park. Again, looking at, more crush and run, more trailheads. Just with the improvements that we've done, I've just seen people coming out there and walking their dogs. So I would ask, and I don't know if that's something that would need a motion or.
I tell you what, how about as we move closer to the end of the fiscal year, into June, we take a look at that use of one-time money independent of the budgeting process so that we can make sure that, that's how we did it last year.
Okay, fantastic. And I'll just, about my individual questions, I'll just give you a buzz and we can talk through some of those.
Now, as far as, can I go back to Mayor Pro Tem, if there is a motion made, I would request that it be specific enough to ask staff to go back and take a look at the viability of a sustainability officer, as well as what it would take to fully fund the public safety pay adjustments in addition to the $500,000.
Okay, so a couple of things. When we talk about the public safety, and this may be for Chief Sauls, or you, Mr. Manager, I know we discussed the building, like for a shooting range or something like that, north of the river. Did we discuss that at one time, like us having our own building as opposed to that? Where do we stand?
That is a capital project, a significant capital project of probably $12 million plus. In fact, the chief and I are heading to Wilmington tomorrow.
Okay.
To visit their indoor shooting range, and I'm going to get turned loose on a gun tomorrow.
Okay. And bring them back, Chief, okay? Bring them back. That's all we ask.
Just 2 words.
Yes.
Safety first.
Yes.
Wait a minute, you talking about our guys now.
Yeah. But I do stand in agreement with my colleagues that we have to support our public safety officers. It's a mental job, it's a physical job, it's a daily job, and it's something that we have to acknowledge. And so I support that. I support the sustainability worker. I think I was really disappointed to hear all these places that have it and we don't, only because we are the leaders in the East.
We're the leaders in the East, but I think of the top 10, and you might be able to help me with this, but of the top 10 cities, we're the only one that doesn't
Exactly.
have
So I was
it, if
disappointed
remember.
to hear that. And that's something that I think we need to look at, especially with the new businesses that are coming. And so we will work on that. The facade improvement grant, of that $20,000, how was that dispersed once disbursement comes? And that's a Ms. Kirby? Was that?
No, that would,
No, who's that?
that would be a planning and development
But,
services.
okay, so how does that, because I heard a lot of complaints that people didn't feel like they had accessibility to the money, that it ran out very quickly.
Well,
And if I may, we've got
I think that's I would beg to differ on that, because
Okay.
they went about 5 years and didn't spend any dollars. And the focus of staff was to ensure that the dollars that were there already were actually utilized first before we would go back and appropriate any dollars to that. So
Okay.
the focus was to make sure that the projects that had been appropriated were completed and the dollars were spent, and then we could evaluate what any increase would look like in the future budgets.
And if I may go ahead, I'm sorry. I was going to tag on, the limit has now been raised to 20,000.
I was just going to ask that. So it's been raised, okay. And also, what are the possibilities of monies for neighborhoods without HOAs? Improvements for those communities?
You mean for like signage and?
Yes, or just
That-
gardening or something like that. I know that they can get, there's some grants that neighborhoods can apply for, or places like Riverdale or, in West Greenville where there are no HOAs. How do they go about obtaining funds?
Mayor Pro Tem, I tell you what, I will get with staff and we can evaluate what kind of options we have there, or any type of grants that could be applied for.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Scully?
I'd also like to speak in favor of a sustainability coordinator. I would like to commend Miss Abby Kimmel for the work she's done for the city for the past year. She has more than paid for her fellowship, and she's provided some really exciting grants for us, including one I just learned about installing cameras in our trash pickup trucks and the recycling trucks that use AI to analyze the recycling that comes in to send a reminder to residents. Not as a slap on the hand, but as a reminder that's going to start costing us a lot of money because the company we use now for recycling is going to fine us for things that are unacceptable that end up in the recycling. So that's just one example of a young fellowship person, and Abby Kimmel, who was able to do a really great job. Just imagine what she's not a true professional, but someone with more experience and education might be able to offer that position. The position at ECU has saved ECU millions of dollars. Yes. And I just imagine them being able to help us use our fleet more effectively, manage the fuel costs there. I just think that's a really exciting opportunity for us and a really wise investment that's going to return much more than it costs us. So I'm very excited about that, and supporting that. And then I wanted to ask if any of the sidewalk ADA compliance would include bus stops.
Now, we do have, we have about $800,000 worth of bus stop improvements that we're getting ready to roll out.
I remember the shelter.
The shelters, exactly, that's right. Yeah.
Is that going to address any of the ADA compliance issues?
No, not at this time. That will have to be added on through the use of these dollars. We'll get the bus shelters out, but then we'd have to make the improvements to the connectivity.
Great.
Okay. Councilmember Blackburn?
Again, I think this is a marvelous looking budget. I appreciate the suggestions that have been made about public safety, and appreciate the support from my peers for the sustainability manager. I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem for mentioning the facade improvement grant. I had the same question, but since we did raise that limit to $20,000, but what I think I'm hearing is that money has not been spent yet.
I would like to make sure that I have the opportunity to make sure the dollars are being spent appropriately on the projects that have been approved. That's fine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then along the lines of the ADA improvements and the sidewalk improvements, I'd love to see us do more. And I don't know if we can do more. I would love to see us do more. $100,000 in sidewalks is not a lot. And we desperately need sidewalks in the city, and we desperately need ADA improvements.
That is why the dollars are in there as priorities, to give us a starting point. And as you heard Director Kirby say tonight, the next year will be spent just in updating the plans to make sure we know what the roadmap is moving forward. I'm a conservative person. I want to make sure that, just like with that opioid money, before we start going out spending money, I want to make sure we have a smart plan in order to be able to do so. That's when government operates best, when it just doesn't spend money, but it has a methodical plan in the direction it's moving. And I would ask that this is just the first step in allowing staff to accommodate that through a plan that we can bring back to council. And if in the end it will require council or us to recommend approving more dollars next year, then that's where it will lead.
Thank you.
So we need a motion for the sustainability
and the public safety
and the law enforcement. So Councilmember Blackburn and Robinson.
Make sure it's entitled public safety.
You want to make them separate?
Separate.
No, well, you add it all together.
All together? Okay.
So how do you want the motion to be?
Yeah, it would
For
be
the
a
city, for you to examine these issues for
motion
us?
to look at the feasibility of adding a sustainability officer to the budget, what that would entail, as well as what it would take to fully fund the public safety pay adjustments that have been proposed in the budget.
So moved.
I think-
What he said.
I think we have to make the,
Do I need to? So I would like to
so you make a motion.
make a motion that we take a look at the feasibility of adding a sustainability officer to this year's budget, and that we also look at what it would take to fully fund the improvements needed in public safety as described by Chief Sauce.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Councilwoman Blackburn, second by Councilman Robinson.
There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. And any further questions or anything for staff? Okay. Now for the city manager's report. Because you didn't have enough to do tonight, Mr. Manager.
So what I would like Brock to do is, yes, Mr. Letchworth, to display the review of the council agenda for May 9th, 2024 on the screen, and we'll give a second for that to be displayed for the community. Okay, and on the city manager's report, that time of the month, 250th anniversary.
Yay.
Kind of great things do we have in store tonight? Tonight we're going to talk about greenways tonight. As many of you will recall, we opened the most recent expansion of our greenway system last December with the extension of the South Tar Greenway west of the town common. Our build project is also moving along, and it includes an extension that will leave Greenville with approximately 9 miles of greenway in the city. In tonight's reflection video, we hear from former city manager Ron Kimball as he describes the opening of Greenville's very first greenway in 1995. Hit it, Brock.
It was a great new kind of transportation and recreation mode. People sometimes resisted greenways because if they traveled somewhere near their backyards, they thought there might be safety factors and there might be other kinds of influences, disruption to their quietude. But I think we were convincing in our thinking that this was going to be something that created greater connection among neighborhoods. It could be a transportation mode, and it could also add to the health and wellness of a community at large. And we promoted the greenways on all of those bases in order to make sure that people understood why they were important. And when you look around the country today and you see what sets some communities apart from others, greenways are an important, vital element of that differentiation. So,
And I will say that when you talk about becoming a destination city, as well as creating character within a community and enhancing quality of life, the foundation of that is a strong greenway system. And we are very fortunate. Not only do we have a very strong greenway system, but we have one that's right against a river, which is outstanding. So this is, do you think the councils past that have had the vision to expand those greenways, and we will continue to move forward with that. So a couple of other things. We have 3 new individuals in attendance here tonight. We'll call them out one by one. These are 3 ECU interns that we have working with us over the next several months, and we are just so glad to have them. This is their first day, and you're actually making it out here hopefully before 9 o'clock, which is good. We have Bella Sardina, who is a Master of Science in Planning and Development. Stand up. We also have Brody Andrews, who just graduated with his degree in Recreation and Parks Management.
Uh-oh.
And we have Samuel Rinda. Samuel. Master's in Public Administration. We are so happy to have them with us for the summer, and I'll assure them they're going to have a good time. Because I'm going to have a good time.
I'd be scared of that if I were you.
They're going to have a good time. I can assure you they're going to have a good time. And then finally, I'll just wrap it up that I had the utmost pleasure to attend a graduation for George Cherry, who graduated with ECU, not with just 1 degree, not with 2 degrees, but with 3 degrees. Mm-hmm. He got a Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in African American Studies, and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. And let me tell you, what an outstanding fella he is. He's a member of the Human Relations Committee, and got to meet his family, got to meet all his professors, those that have been very influential in his life, and he is going to have a very bright future ahead of him, moving on to medical school. And just tell him that he is the kind of individuals that we need to make sure that they make their mark right here on all of Eastern North Carolina. So congratulations to George, and look forward to being able to watch the great things he does in life. Mayor Pro Tem, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And we will now move on to comments from our city council, and we will start with Councilman Robinson. You know you're my buddy.
Get me right sooner or later.
Yeah, you are my buddy, yes.
All right, as much as we talk, you got to get me right.
I know.
A couple of things. First, again, thank you so much to Officer Lovelace and Captain Smith for what you do for the city of Greenville, not just on those 2 occasions that were identified and recognized tonight, but every day, as well as your fellow officers. It means so much to us, and what an outstanding way to represent Greenville when you're in Wilson. Number 2, I got a chance to sit down with you, Mayor Pro Tem, and Deborah Shepard on Saturday morning. We went a little early to see the Heart of the City Community Arts Festival, and I had a chance to walk around and meet everybody in some old stomping grounds, because I actually went to South Greenville School. And I think the very first night I was sworn in on council, I visited the Brown Cemetery. Mayor Pro Tem, if you remember, we addressed the issue about that.
Yes.
I had to go put boots on the ground to go look at it. And so I just want to say congratulations to what a wonderful event Saturday to Ms. Shepard and all the staff and supporters and the volunteers. And I told her I was going to give her some props on Monday nights. That's what I wanted to do. Next, to all the folks in my district, your stream restoration project is going to begin soon. So I know y'all excited about that. Finally, we can't thank Eddie and Joe Allison Smith. Now, Ms. Smith is no longer with us, but the Eddie and Joe Allison Smith Family Foundation and Great White Boats for what they've done for Wildwood Park. And I hope, Mr. Smith, I hope you're very happy that we're getting some more improvements out there, and that's the work of the grant applications and funding. And I think you'll probably get some phone calls about that personally. So I know you're delighted to see that project grow, because that's kind of like very special to you, based upon what your son did. He used to love the mountain biking and stuff. Next, tomorrow night, I hope, whether you're a baseball fan or not, tune in, watch on the radio or TV. Our number 6 ECU baseball team, as they take on number 9 Duke tomorrow night at 6 here in Greenville. And I'm hoping that they're going to break another record. At the NC State ball game, they set an attendance record of a little over 6,000 people watching a baseball game. And it looks like our team is probably on tap to host the regional and maybe even the super regional. So that's going to be more money and visitors here in Greenville. So tune in tomorrow night. Let me see what else. Also, in all this budgeting and stuff, I think y'all hear me. I know, City Manager, I know you talked about it. Our relationships with our elected representatives are critical to build those relationships with not just the city and the county, but our medical community and ECU and Chancellor Phillips. It's just critical. And if we build those relationships, we can get the ear and the eye and the pocketbook of Raleigh a little more than what we've been doing. And I do want to recognize tonight Representative Gorstein Brown for coming in and joining us. It's a special privilege to have you come here and watch what we do business. I know this is your hometown and served mayor for a long time in Bethel, and one of your staff now works for me. So thank you for coming. I want to recognize you. Thank you for coming tonight and spending these 2 or 3 hours with us, or 4 hours with us, ever how long it's been. Thank you for everything you do for us up in Raleigh. I know you work hard for us, and I appreciate all your help as well as the other representatives. So continue to work hard for us, and remember, we'll look for ours too now, okay? You know, I'm with you on that. So again, appreciate you coming down and joining us tonight. And next year, and I said I was going to say this, I'm not stepping out of line, that the city of Greenville is going to host the North Carolina League of Municipalities, the statewide meeting here in Greenville. And that's going to be a huge deal that we're going to be under the spotlight for all of North Carolina. And I will say this informally. I believe we put $600,000 for beautification projects. I want to make sure we've got the spit shine out there and everything's looking good, so when they come down here, we are a showpiece for the rest of North Carolina. And I'm excited about that, even though it's just after our 250th anniversary. I think I've said enough, and I'll end my comments with that. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Councilman Scully?
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to congratulate all the ECU graduates. It was a really exciting weekend. We had a couple of graduates on our staff at the Scullery. Really excited for them. So congratulations. All those pirates go out and do wonderful things. Hopefully some of you will stay here and work with us in Greenville. I'd like to say we have the best staff. This is the first time I've ever been on city council anywhere, so I don't know where to compare it to. But I mean, that presentation was just really impressive. And in the short time I've served on city council, the presentations I've heard from city staff have just been remarkable, informative, professional. I've learned so much already, and I'm just so thankful that you're here, because I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, and I depend on you to be professionals and to give us the right information to make the best decision for our citizens. You did that tonight, and you continue to do that every time you come before us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It was really cool to have some kids here from Operation Sunshine tonight. I love when kids come to City Council. They did a really wonderful job. I want to thank Operation Sunshine for lifting up some of the young women in our community and the great job that they're doing. I wanted to add my congratulations and thanks to Captain Smith and Officer Lovelace. I'd like to say that I'm super excited about the Small Business Support Grant Program that starts tomorrow, supporting small businesses in our downtown West Greenville and Dickinson Avenue corridor, just to support those businesses in the area during the construction process, the resurfacing of the streets. It's a really, really exciting project. It's going to look great. Can't wait for it to be done, but it's going to be hard. So I want to encourage our citizens to continue to support those businesses, and I want to thank city staff for making it a priority to support them with that program. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Foreman?
So I had the privilege of spending a full day with our city manager as we went up for the conference for the League of Municipalities, where we made the announcement that we will be hosting them next year. It was a wonderful time. Not only did we realize that we're going to have to prove that Eastern North Carolina has the best barbecue, okay? But also, we had a lot of meaningful conversation on the way there and back that continue to be able to have some additional meaningful conversation with Danae and Tiana. And, you know, I didn't mention a lot tonight in budget about affordable housing and those things because we were having those conversations and are seeing some actionable items around that. And that leads back to what Matt was just saying about, you know, how wonderful our staff is, and want to mirror my appreciation for that. Also, Operation Sunshine, the babies have gone home, but that just tickled my little heart to see them speak up for what they would like to see in their own communities, asking for more youth activities, and would love to work with Don and the team to continue to make that happen. I think that a couple of words or adjectives that they didn't use in their presentation was accessible and culturally relevant. And so what was noted from Ms. Veronica was that, that program has been 56 years in the making, and that many of those youth, and I've had the privilege of serving in the community that's West and South Greenville, is that they not only need more activities, but they need more activities that are accessible and culturally relevant. So I want to add that. And then to reiterate, appreciation for our presenters during public comments as it relates to a sustainability officer. I'm very excited about that and think that's going to move us forward as we look to make responsible economic decisions and balance in harmony as we protect the character and preserve the character of our community. So that's all for tonight.
Thank you. Councilwoman Blackburn.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike on, yes. I don't want to go on too much, but that budget was just so well done, so well presented, so well put together. Again, just a thank you to our city manager and to all the department heads for your work on that. I know it must have been a lot of sort of very difficult conversations and probably some sleepless nights, tossing and turning. What do we do? What do we do? Thank you. I can just speak for myself and say I really, really appreciate the way you did the budget this year. Wanted to make an announcement that sort of was part of the budget, but I've had some people say, can we increase the hours of our bus service? Guess what? We're doing that. We're going from starting at around 7:30 in the morning. We're going to start at 6 in the morning, and instead of shutting down at 5:15 at night, we're going to go until 8 o'clock at night. This is huge. That's on weekdays. That's just such a huge increase. And for folks who have to get to their early shift at the hospital, I know they start very early, or wherever you're working, having our buses start at 6 a.m. is going to be just a lifesaver. Well, we'll see. Hopefully there'll be a lot of use for that. Hopefully people who've needed it will find out with our community engagement that they now have these additional bus hours. We've now got Saturday hours from 9 to 4. I think that's a great step forward for our city, having additional public transportation, and hopefully it will be used. I appreciate everything our city manager, Michael, said about George Cherry. I've known George for about a year and a half now. Such an exceptional young man. Congratulations, George, on your graduation. And I guess last, want to just say thank you to everyone in the community who's contacted me recently, and I appreciate your engagement, appreciate your questions. I try to shuffle them up to our city manager. If you haven't heard a response in a while, ping me back, but there's a lot going on, and thank you for being engaged, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Daniels. I, too, was excited to hear about the Business Resilience Microloan Program. That's something that Councilmember Scully mentioned about and has been an advocate for those businesses downtown. And so it's great to see the city responding to that and creating some relief for those businesses. For this being my first budget meeting, thank you, City Manager, for making it succinct and easy to understand, and understand the behind-the-scenes process and your thought process for you and your staff. That makes it a lot easier to understand how you come to your conclusions. Also, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's so important to take care of your mental health as a part of your overall health. We kicked off Economic Development Week this week. I had an opportunity to attend a breakfast this morning with the ENC Alliance as well as Pitt County Development, and just exciting to see the different things that will happen over the week. And see all the different parts that play into economic development for our city, our county, and our region. So thank you. That's all from me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Oh, where do I start? First of all, thank you to staff. Thank you for all that you all do every single day. This budget just added to that, I'm sure. And so we appreciate your presentations and the time and effort that you put into all of our wants and needs every single day that comes from our public, and ways to better serve them. It is much appreciated. Thank you, Representative Brown, for your presence here today, your presence in our community, and, the $5 million. We appreciate that. I guess it's not right to ask for more, but if you all find some more money,
we always need more.
Yes, we could always use more money.
I'm not shy.
Officer Lovelace and Smith, thank you for all that you do every day. Unfortunately, there was a loss of officers in Charlotte this week, and you think about those men in blue who lost their colleagues and those firefighters and EMS who had to go there. It's that working together. And, but by the grace of God, it was not Greenville, but I keep them in my prayers as well. It is Teachers Week, so happy Teachers Week to those who are sometimes thankless to put up with our kids, not mine because they grown, but put up with children day in and day out, and we all know that job is not over once they go home at the end of the day. They give their all and they give their hearts, and that is greatly appreciated. Happy Public Service Month. Was it month or week? Week. See, they do it every day, so I just want to say thank you again. And also, May is Mental Health Month. To copy of what Councilwoman Willis stated, it's very important that we take care of our mental health. Self-care is very, very important. And it's also Foster Care Awareness Month. Children are taken from their homes and placed with strangers through no fault of their own. So let's keep them in our prayers as well. And I had a wonderful time at Heart of Scope's 4th Heart of the City this weekend. I was so tired when I got home. This was by far one of the best Heart of the Cities. There was so much diversity there. The community came out. Deborah Shepherd was so nervous because it was at South Greenville this time and not West Greenville. But the goal is always to share the vision with the entire city of Greenville. And that is what she's done and what she continues to do. And I thank her for that. Wait, there's more. Operation Sunshine. I attended Operation Sunshine as a little girl. Okay. They were on Skinny Bean Hill, we used to call it, right? 3rd Street, that big hill there. And so I'm not telling you how old I am or anything, but I did attend when I used to come to North Carolina and visit during the summers. Chief Sauls. So there have been some complaints. I want to say all the good stuff first. 4th and Vance and 4th and Davis Streets. The speeding, some things that were requested are out of your control, but there was some speeding and concerns in that area, and that is where a lot of our elderly live as well. And let's see. Mr. Manager, can we check with staff when our last disparity study was?
Wait a minute. Wait.
Because that is something that we would like to see and bring that back to us. And that is all for the night.
I've asked about that offline a few times. That's why I had to clarify.
Okay. Well, see, great minds are thinking alike. Madam Clerk, before we adjourn, did you want to go over the commissions? No? Did you do that?
Thursday. Yeah, I'll bring it back to you Thursday, but I can pull up this if that's what y'all want to do. Okay.
Yeah. While she's doing that, Mr. Manager, I know that you said the county was going to, their plan was to hire someone in regards to the opiate money. do we plan on doing the same, or we utilize it present
No,
staff?
we would hope to piggyback off their
Their person? Oh, okay.
Look at what kind of relationships we can create.
And I love that. Thank
So
you.
that we're not duplicating services.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Madam
Okay.
Clerk.
Yep, so the first board is the Historic Preservation Commission. That's Councilmember Blackburn, replacing Miss Edith Giannessi, who has resigned. All right, and this,
do you have applications? Because I know we just filled several positions.
Right, you might not.
I can see if there's any, I don't see any listed, but I'll double check, and if there are, I will send you those applications.
In the town bank forms, please.
Sure. Yep, those are the applications. Next is the Housing Authority. That is going to be the mayor's appointment. Next, we've got the Human Relations Council. That is Councilmember Willis. Next, we've got the Multimodal Transportation Commission, Councilmember Scully.
I know.
Next is the Recreation and Parks Commission, and we have a few that are signed out. One is for Councilmember Scully, for Gordon Dara's seat, who's ineligible. Next, we've got Mayor Pro Tem Daniels for Darren White's seat. Next, we've got Councilmember Robinson for Ms. Deborah Shepherd's seat, and she is eligible. Excuse me, Darren is also eligible.
Okay.
To be reappointed. And then finally, we have got the Youth Council for Councilmember Willis.
That's a lot of them.
I know. I was like,
It's hard to keep, I've done that.
well, she named a lot last time.
It's hard to keep that one.
Yep, and that concludes the appointment.
Okay, now we need is a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Robinson, second by Councilwoman Blackburn. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.